everybody. This is Code Red. I'm going to be commentating for Lotus RT. Take it away, Lotus.
Hello everyone, I am Lotus, and I will be running Wario Land 3 100% for Gamers Against Cancer 2025. I am the current record holder of the category, and the 100% category involves collecting every chest and every music coin in the game. There are 100 total chests in the game, and 200 music coins. So we're going to do all of that at once. And alongside me for commentary is Soap Agent, who is the second place time holder for the category.
Yeah, I'm Soap. I kind of started a revival of this category like 2 years ago or something. I had a world record, and Lotus and I have traded it back a couple times. My time is only 30 seconds slower than Lotus's at the moment. I just stopped the grind at around that time, but yeah, we're both, I would say, the most knowledgeable about the category, and it's a fun but also very long category with a lot of different tech if you're interested in Wario Land 3 tech, so hopefully we can throw it off well.
Alright, and I'm actually going to do a hard reset here right now. And this is actually because I want to get my timer set up for something that actually happens in the very first split of the run. So, although we're going to see the intro cutscene once again, we can't skip this. Luckily, the timer does not start. So we'll just play this off.
Music sounds nice at least.
As good as you can get for 8-bit.
Yeah, Wario Land 3 has a fun soundtrack, which is like mostly theme based. There's like a main theme that's reused for a lot of different levels.
And we'll be starting in 3, 2, 1, begin. So this gives us just an opening cutscene. We can't skip this, but we can hold right to actually accelerate Wario's movement in the opening cutscene. So you saw that his plane just crashed. Obviously he survived. And there's
one of the like gimmicks of this game is that Wario is invincible in 99% of scenarios. So you'll see a lot of enemies that look dangerous, but what they usually do is either knock Wario back or give him a transformation state that can be helpful or harmful, just like make you either lose progress or get to an area that you couldn't as normal Wario.
And the reason why we picked the Japanese language is because it results in shorter text. It saves about 8 seconds, I believe, is it, in the run? But now we're going to hold down so that we can just start mashing through it.
I was wondering about that, and it makes sense.
Yeah, the real reason is just like less letters, and also the letters appear slightly faster. But the only scrolling text in this game is at the beginning and at the end of the run. So it's not a huge time save, but it's still a free time save.
Yep. And basically what the hidden figure was saying was that this music box, you got transported into the music box that you're appearing into, and a wicked being sealed away that guy's power. He's claiming to be the god of the music box world. And the objective of the game is to get 5 music boxes to break his seal so that he can help you escape.
And of course, the hidden figure throws in all the treasure that you find is yours to keep, and this is what piques Wario's interest. So, obviously, being Wario, the kind of greedy treasure hunter, we want to actually get everything that we can, and the 100% run does just that.
And fortunately, we did not get hit by the fire there. The fire is on a global cycle, so that was the reason why I needed to do a hard reset, to ensure that I wouldn't get hit by it.
Yeah, I believe it's a 256 frame cycle, kind of like in Super Mario Bros. 2, so it's just basically 4 seconds. And if you're in like a 1 second window, you'll get hit by it. It's kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm. But that first item that we just got was the axe, which unlocks N2, the peaceful village, and N3, the vast plain. And in this case means north. And we're not going to be doing the gray chest right away. We're actually going to do the red chest. So I will have Soap explain wall jumps.
Yeah, so the dashing movement in this game oscillates. So normally when you're walking, you have a max speed of 2 pixels per frame, and you kind of just hold a direction and go that speed, whereas with dashing, you alternate between 2 and 3. So it's like an average of 2.5, and when you cancel a dash, you get to reuse the speed from your dash for 1 frame when you're falling. And the game doesn't expect you to be going this speed when you're not in the dash state, so the collision check fails, basically, and allows you to be 2 pixels inside a wall. So basically by landing on a specific pixel so that the oscillation values allow you to move 3 pixels when you're next to a wall, then...
And we got the donut clip too.
Yeah, this is just a YOLO clip that you can do. It saves 12 seconds, but you have to get it first try, basically. The other one you can just retry as many times as you want, because you just stand on a certain pixel and then dash. Also worth noting is that there's 4 chests for each level. There's 25 levels in the game, and the 4 chests have colors. You need the key to get to the same color of chest, and each chest has an item in it. Some of them don't do something, but for the first little bit we're only going to be getting items that are useful for our progression, just so that we can get all the power-ups as fast as we can.
Good. We got the quick donut eat.
I love the way he climbs up ladders and stuff. That's funny.
Yeah, it's very well animated. Unfortunately, ladder climbing is a bit slow, so you want to try to skip an amount of it, although you can only go so much out of your way to, like, jump up a ladder.
It can still make a difference, but it's not that big. Now, in regards to that wall jump that I did for the red chest, keep that in mind for later. That's going to come into play about 25 minutes from now.
Yeah, that sounds about right. For a normal wall clip, you're just like... If you clip into a wall and there's a tile above your head, you'll just be forced to crouch, and in most cases you can't do anything with that. With the first wall jump that Lotus did, there was not a tile there, so he was able to jump up, or be snapped up, and go 3 tiles when your jump height is normally 2, without the high jump power that we get later. But sometimes, when you're in a transformation state, there's no way for the game to force you to crouch because there just isn't a crouch for that transformation, so you can jump.
And the 2 gray chests that we just did previously, they combined together.
Yeah, and this opens up the west map, so there's just 4 kind of sub-maps in the game. They have 6 levels except for the east map, which has 7, and that adds up to 25 levels.
Yep.
So first we're going to have West 1, or W1, the volcano's base, and this is where we get the first boss, Dullboy.
Wrong stage. This is Desert Ruins.
I'm a little rusty. I haven't played in a couple months.
But we can
This
do
is
a wall
reverse wall jump, so it's the same as any other wall jump, but you're turning the same direction that you cancel in, so timing's a little bit different.
And that one's about 7 seconds faster. Now we're going to avoid the music coin there, because even though it does help with our coin balance, we're playing 100%, so we don't need to worry about it. And if we get a music coin, then it actually costs us about 1.5 seconds. So we want to avoid them if we can. There are a couple scenarios where it's just unavoidable. There's nothing you can do. But that one you can avoid, and you should. Now we're going to head right back into W1, because we also have to do the red chest.
So yeah, one of the goals of 100% is doing all the chests, but the other goal is also getting the music coins in each level. There's 8 music coins in all of the 25 levels, but the game only counts you actually having done that goal if you get all 8 in one go, which means one of the main points of routing here is just to make sure that we don't have to redo any level the 5th time. We want to get all the coins on the 3rd or 4th visit with anything that we may need.
Did you say how many chests there are total?
There are
There's
100.
100. 4 per 25 levels.
Alright, and then here's another 2-item combo. And this gets rid of that annoying tornado. And this unlocks W2, the volcano's base.
Yeah, my fault. This is where the first boss is, and this is Dullboy. He also operates on this 4-second cycle, but is even less predictable. Basically, he likes to throw out hammers, and you have to kind of react to if and when he's going to throw a hammer before you can get your first attack on him. Once you get the first attack, the rest of the fight should be relatively easy, but anything can happen, so hopefully this works out.
Yeah, we're good. You can technically skip Dullboy, however, it involves a dash jump clip, and during a boss fight, you can't pause, so it is truly frame perfect, and the reward isn't that big, so it's just not worth going for.
Yeah, you have to press left and then right on the next frame, on a frame perfect timing. And you can't fully see Wario because you're going above the screen and it doesn't scroll. Overall, it's a very difficult trick that I don't think anyone really goes for.
But clearing Dullboy does give our first power-up, which are the blue overalls, and as you saw, that enables us to do ground pounds. So now we are going to revisit one of the stages that we had already unlocked, and in this case, it is N1 out of the woods for the red chest.
Yeah, since there's a limited amount of levels, but there's 100 chests, one of the themes is just revisiting levels, and in many cases you'll have something extra unlocked. Either there'll be a new area that you can reach because of an item that unlocked that area, or you'll get a power-up that indirectly allows you to reach an area that was blocked off previously. In this level we have our first golf. I think with the amount of golf skips you do, there's 11 golfs in the run.
Yeah, there's technically 12 golf splits, but we can skip one.
Yeah.
Technically we could skip 2, but the second one is just not worth it in 100%. And we got the par 3.
Nice.
That is the best case scenario because the par 3 is the only one that we can clear in one shot.
Yeah, at first there's 5 golf courses that you can get, and I think the par 3 is kind of weighted to be less likely than the other 4. As we unlock more chests, the amount of golf courses you can get increases to 10 and then to 15. And once it increases, there's one more par 3 that you can do in one shot, but that also means that you can get less lucky and just get a course that's even more difficult.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be more important when we actually reach 50 chests, where there are 15 holes, and there's actually 2 of them in particular that I'll just throw away immediately. And you can actually tell the hole by its footprint, so to speak, because each one has a distinct footprint.
Yeah, and by footprint, Lotus is referring to just like the screen that you see when you first load into the room without like scrolling or anything. This level has these little pistons that you don't see anywhere else that just, they're kind of like scale platforms in Super Mario World. You ground pound them, and there's another linked one that's like adjacent to it. You just want to ground pound the right one so you don't lose any time with doing extra work that you don't need to.
When this game first came out, did they have to did the players have to find all the chests and how to get to them?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult actually to find everything. I certainly had to use guides and like the Mario wiki when I was doing this casually like a decade ago.
Yeah.
When I played the game as a kid, there was actually one chest that I literally never knew how to do, and it took until much later for me to actually figure it out, and I used the guide for that as well. And funnily enough, it was actually in this stage, W4, A Town in Chaos.
Yeah, It's a very exploration-focused game, and there's a lot of places to explore that won't actually get you anywhere, depending on what you have. Also, you saw Lotus turning to the left there before hitting the boiler. That's just because if you dash like in the forwards direction into the boiler, it gives you a recoil that is a lot slower than just doing a turnaround.
And you can actually speed it up by doing precise jumps as well to actually stop it earlier. But that does make it more difficult to do. Whereas
yeah,
doing it that way
high
is just
APS.
free. Yeah. Doing it the way that I did is just free. So, but the length that the boiler is pushed back is random. But you're really just aiming so that you have that platform to go through the window that we just saw. But the 2 cogwheels that we just obtained unlock the first stage in the south region, which is the grasslands.
Yeah, this has our second boss. Generally speaking, the bosses will have something important for progression. I mean, they're all part of the progression, but they're usually some major point of progression. So, Dullboy had our first power-up, and Wormwood here is going to have our first music box.
But first we're going to get flattened down, because we need this to get the key.
There's also a dash jump wall clip that you can do here, but it's not super worth it.
There we go.
You have to get a running start and then, like, jump into that little alcove there, and it's very precise. Every wall jump is precise, but some of them are more kind of weird timing than others.
But the entrance to Wormwood's room is right up here. And then all we have to do is ground pound 3 times.
Yeah, he always appears on the opposite side of where you are in the arena, so as long as you just stay on the other half and walk over before he appears, it's just a free timing.
Yeah. Wormwood is also, I think, the least punishing of the bosses for failing as well.
Yeah,
It's only
that
like
sounds
15
right.
seconds.
The gimmick of the bosses in general is that they have some attack or multiple attacks sometimes that will send you out of the arena, and that's kind of the game's alternative to dying. So instead of losing a life and having to redo the entire level or like restart the room, you instead get sent out in some kind of comedic way, and you have to platform back to where you were and restart the boss.
How many bosses are there?
There are 10 bosses plus the final boss.
Yeah, they all have like different attack patterns and just generally different ways to beat them.
Now, I actually need a moment to do a quick count, because there are actually bosses that we can skip. And I think there are 2 that are skippable. It's 2 or 3.
You can skip Jimana, the pirate boss, easily.
Yep.
Doughboy you can skip.
Yeah, Doughboy you can skip. The boss in the N6 Gray, spoiler alert.
Yeah, okay, so that's 3.
That one is skippable as well.
You can actually skip Jimano without glitches and also without doing the level at all. There's a sequence break that you'll actually see in this run as well that's used in the glitchless run, where instead of using a wall jump to do any sort of sequence break, you just bounce off enemies that are placed in convenient locations. You'll see that maybe like 40 minutes from now.
Yep. And that's actually the unique thing about our glitchless category. It's that although glitches are banned, sequence breaks are not.
Yeah, so glitchless is actually faster than the no major skips category, depending on who's running it. They're like roughly equivalent, but I believe glitchless is just faster because you skip 5
Glitchless is
entire
like 3
levels.
minutes faster.
Yeah.
Now I should have actually broken that other block just in case things go wrong here, but oh, that was close. So the normal movement there is 6 dashes and then just dash downwards. Now we could technically skip this coin too, but I'm not going to bother because we have to do a golf. And music coins also give us 10 coins, so it's worth it. And wow, that is
double
very
par 3,
lucky.
that's nice. this were a no major skips run, you'd be in business. Although I guess you did a skip, so we can't do that.
Yeah. You'd also be in business in any percent category.
Yeah, with the exception of the true 80%, which only has one golf, thankfully. But yeah, glitchless and no major skips both have those first two golfs, and then all chests and 100% have all of the golfs.
Yep. But yeah, I can definitely say that in comparison, this is definitely a much more serious run, and I can't believe it's happening in a marathon. Just for comparison, the record right now is 3:16:59, and in comparison to the pace that it was on after N3 green, we're 18 seconds ahead of the record.
But there's still 3 hours left. Not
Yep.
that I wish to jinx it.
But the beanstalk seeds that we got from S2 gave us access to those areas, thanks to the beanstalks. Now we're now grown.
What's the
Yeah,
record
beanstalks
time?
are just like ladders.
The world record right now is 3 hours, 16 minutes, and 59 seconds.
Yeah, Lotus holds that, and then I hold a time that's 30 seconds slower, which is kind of funny in a 3-hour category. I got my former world record on Christmas, and Lotus got his current world record on New Year's Eve, so...
Yep.
A nice pairing.
Ooh. Now S3 actually has a very fun glitch that we can do. It is pretty complicated, so I'm hoping that I can get it. But let's see if I can get it. It's right at the start. So there's this fire block right here. Got it.
Nice. Yeah, the fire block is a sprite, and sprites spawn based on the camera position, so if you trick the camera into scrolling down like that by just repeatedly tapping the ladder without actually latching onto it, then you can make it so that Wario still interacts with the tiles, but not with the sprites, because the sprites just didn't spawn properly. The intended way to get past that is to use the Fire Wario transformation state to light all the torches in that room, which is not super slow, but ladder glitching is faster if you can do it fast enough.
And that was a very
great
optimal one.
Yeah.
So I think it's about 10 seconds faster. And we can do it 4 times, because those fire blocks are always back. So
Yeah,
that
you have to do every level
ladder
4
build-
times, but usually you go in different spots. But in this particular case, that first portion of the level, you always do, because there's no branching path yet.
Now, that door right there is going to be funny later. So take note of that blue door that you saw at the upper right. Because even though I'm ladder scrolling, usually, that one is a pretty funny one later. But S3 Gray gives us swimming. And S3, by the way, is Tower of Revival. So we can't outswim currents yet, but as you saw, we can hold down the B button and it'll stop our position. That'll actually be important in a future split as well. But W3 Green, which is our next destination, has our next boss. And this boss is one that I would say has the potential of killing your run. It's very auto-scroller, unfortunately, but the third hit, every regular boss has 3 HP, so to speak, except for Jamano. But that one is really just reveal the torches, but we could skip it anyways. But the first 2 hits here are very auto-scroller, but the third hit can be kind of complicated. And you'll lose most of your attempts if you fail this boss on the third hit. And if you fail it, it'll cost you a minute.
Yeah, very punishing. Its attacks are, as far as we know, based on the same 256 frame cycle, but it's not fully understood how it works. Like, sometimes he seems to not attack when you think he should. But yeah, throws out these dust puffs, and then he throws out a chestnut with this Goomba-like enemy, and the Goomba enemy reflects diagonally off the walls, and that's how you hit the boss.
I should be good. Yep, we're good.
This is a cool boss design.
Yeah, I like it. This is Wolfen Boss, which has very different names in different languages. In Japanese, it's a corruption of the word for fox, so it could be any sort of animal. I think in Spanish or something it also has a different mammal name, so we don't know what species that guy is.
But clearing him gives us our first access to the East region. And the East region right now is going to be unique, but E1 is the stagnant swamp, and we are going to do the gray chest there. So it's daytime, except in the east. So there's actually an item that we need to get much later down, and I think it's about an hour or so in, an hour from now, which will give us access to daytime, but until then, east will be locked to night.
Yeah, and it's important for a couple of the levels. Depending on what power-ups you have, it won't matter for, like, for example, E7 Red technically would require daytime at first, but you can bypass that need later when you have power-ups. But also, there's a few levels that require it to be day or nighttime, depending, and usually that's not much of a big deal, but with the East map, because of the fact that we need those items in order to get daytime here, we kind of want to route around that, or use sequence break where we can to do anything early that makes sense to do early.
Yep. So the item that E1 Gray gets you is the Snake Flute. And this unlocks S1 Green, W2 Green, not red, and then N2 Red and N2 Green. So we've
we
already done
did
N2
Red earlier. Doesn't really matter because you do it the exact same way regardless of if the snake is there with that wall jump. Because wall jump is just optimal. It's just for overworld optimization, so we don't have to go back to that level an extra time.
Now we overshot the snake so that we could unload it. And that way then we could just go right in.
Yeah,
Here.
if you go to that snake exactly like when it's there, it's already been loaded for like a couple extra seconds, so it'll start to go up, and we're not ready for that when it's first loaded. And these bubbles just turn you into Bubble Wario, which in this level is a hindrance, and it just makes you go up to the water very slowly.
Yeah, you never want to get hit by the bubble in this one. It'll be important too in a couple of future chests, but right now we don't want to get hit. But now the items from N2 Red and S1 Green combine to freeze the sea. And this unlocks the Frigid Sea, which is E2. Good. Those bears can just be annoying and just hit you with an ice projectile which freezes you. But fortunately, we avoided it.
Yeah, this level has some kind of tight platforming with all those bears bouncing you around and the ice. The ice isn't a huge deal because as long as you keep moving and like jump while you're moving, then it's fine. But if you stop moving on the ice, then you skid.
So now we get the helmet. Now the helmet is, funnily enough, kind of misleading in what it does right now. You saw that it lets you break a solid block with your jump. That's not actually the case.
Yeah, it'll be the case later, but either they intended for the helmet to be a different point in progression at some point, or they just made a mistake when they made that cutscene.
In either case, the solid blocks won't matter, because by the time we actually will need to break solid blocks with the jump, we'll have the power-up that we need.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny that it's that case like that. Now, normally you're supposed to go all the way up and hit a switch that was in the zombie room that we saw, but we can actually do a wall jump instead. and this will let us get the red key faster. We're gonna get rid of the firebot though. So right there, and first try.
Yeah, it's a bit of a harder wall jump just because it's a maximum height one. You have to go up 4 tiles instead of 3. So you have to time it with a pretty tight frame window to actually land as high as you can on that wall.
Also, as a general rule of thumb, right-facing wall jumps are more difficult than left-facing ones.
Yeah, somehow the collision is just you get an extra frame that you can turn around in for left wall jumps, whereas with right ones you have to do it before you would be colliding with the wall.
So we're gonna have the zombie fire his head as soon as possible, because we need to go through the floor, and this is our 4th boss, which is Shoot.
Yeah, Shoot is a callback to Dunk from Wario Land 2, which is a basketball boss. This time it's a soccer or football boss. Funnily enough, in both Wario Land 2 and 3, this boss has just like an instant stun that you can do, and you just immediately shoot him back into the goal. And that's a pretty fast boss.
There we go. And this chest contains our 2nd music box.
When y'all's first couple runs were like the bosses hard for y'all to do?
Yeah, you have to like learn the setups, and when you're learning the setups, you're gonna have less precision with it. It just takes practice. And, you know, I still mess things up. I've lost runs to Wolf and Boss in the past few months, and I've lost runs to other bosses. Dull Boy is the most annoying one because it's at the start of the run, and basically RNG dependent because you can't control the cycle or know where it is until you enter the room.
Now here's one trick that I did not practice, so let's see if I can get it. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, when you're on fire, you actually move faster than your dashing speed. It's a constant 3 frames per, or 3 pixels per frame. So, if you can carry the fire state all the way to the right side of this level, then you've saved a decent amount of time over
Only like 3
platforming
seconds.
normally.
3 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess decent is relative, but it just looks cool to do, so I think it's worth going for.
Yep. And then this is another combo item that we need to get from both of the stages that we unlocked. And once again, we're going to use fire, but this time there's a practical reason.
Yeah, this time there's actually blocks that require fire.
And then we're going to unload the hammer bot, and then we'll go right here, so then it's just barely not loaded. Because we also need Spring Wario.
Yeah, doing that little unload and setup just makes it so that as soon as your iframes run out, the guy touches you.
And now I'm actually going to go for the water, because this is faster than doing things by jumping down in the lower section here.
That's
because you get
new
out
to
of it
me.
earlier.
I feel like for a decade people have been just letting it run out.
Yeah. With it, you can actually get sub 54 seconds on that split. Also flashing lights.
Yeah, and the
Okay,
3DS
so-
Virtual Console release of this game, and I think also the Switch one, they made it so that that's like a dark gray flash instead of a white flash, so it's less of a problem.
Now remember how I said that you could stop the currents? Well, here's where that comes into play.
Yeah, so by swimming up right here, you can't actually swim right, but you can kind of stop where you are while you're swimming up to get back to the surface of the water, and you can just make some headway against this current. And that saves a few seconds over going around the long way and breaking a bunch of blocks and avoiding fire enemies.
Now we'll need to go across while rolling because of that area right there.
And this gives us our red glove, which is the first of the 2 glove power-ups. With this, we can just pick up regular enemies. There's still some heavy enemies, which we can't do anything with yet.
If there are a couple of donations that have occurred, you've got time because this is one of the longest tutorials.
I do have a couple donations. Thank you, Jen J56 and Morning Banquet for the $40. Greatly appreciated.
Now the glove unlocks N5 red, E2 red, and S2 green. But the only one we care about right now is N5 red. Oops. That's right.
So, is it
Now
lagging
there's
for
a
you too?
But
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
not gonna go for it. That's just because it risks.
Do you know what he's saying?
The red key, way down. Oop.
I think Lotus is just talking about some of the stuff in the level. At the beginning of this level, there's this fire that's on the global cycle, and you have to carry an enemy below that fire. So presumably he had to wait for it, because he said something about that. And then there's just a room where you go down, and there's this current that you can skip with some precise inputs, but it's not really worth going for because you can soft lock. And then you just have to go back down after getting the key and avoid bubbles.
Alrighty.
Testing 1, 2. There we go.
We might be back. I think we're back.
Are you guys seeing the stone foot right now?
Yes, we are seeing a huge stone foot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's normal now. That was just N5 red. Funnily enough, the next level we do is pretty similar, where we go down and avoid bubbles and then go back up.
Yep. Except this time we actually do want to get hit by a bubble. But the stone foot unlocked 3 chests, and we actually need to do all 3.
Yeah, the stone foot just
Good, we did
basically
get past the
excavates a portion of each level, and this level just allows you to access the left side over here, where the chest and this whole water section is. And
Now the
only
funny thing
reason you
here
need to
is
go
that we're
down here is
actually...
just... Go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually unlocking... We're actually doing W2 blue before doing W2 green and W2 red. Oops. So we're going to become a vampire, and I'm going to wait for the next water. Yeah, we can avoid that. We're not going to see golf for a while.
Yeah, one of the nice things about 100% as opposed to 100%, or as opposed to all chests, is that you don't need to worry so much about coins for golf, whereas with all chests, you don't get a constant stream of coins from doing the coin collection, so you have to kind of figure out which coins you want to take some time to get, and also be very careful about not failing golf.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily like the run is over if you fail a golf, but you have to be pretty careful about like, well, I fail one golf and that might be it for the run.
Now we're going to do the same current outswim that we did previously. But this time we're going to go all the way.
Stonefoot just makes it so that there's a door in the center. This door wasn't here before, and now we can enter the area where the red and green chest is, although we can't do anything for green yet.
Uh-oh, I believe I messed this up. Yeah. I think I would have actually been able to save that if I had continued holding right. But because I
I
didn't,
personally
guess
would have just held left and made sure I fell back on the platform, but this works
Yeah.
as well. It's not that big of a deal.
that's alright. It's alright. Not that bad. Now, there's multiple ways you could go about this, but I take the safe approach and just do that.
Yeah, you can also like just
Oops.
take damage from the spikes and kind of do a iframe abuse to dash right through them because they're not solid. They just make you take damage, and if you're in iframes, you can go right through them.
I had accidentally minimized the screen, so that's why it glitched out for a moment. But I just set up a glitch right there.
Yeah, this is called rolling glitch. It just basically tricks the game into thinking you're in the rolling state while you're still able to perform normal Wario actions, and that means you can walk through blocks normally without having to dash into them, and you can also walk into enemies and instantly kill them. This glitch ends
been
if you enter
demonstrated.
water or ground pound or dash against a wall.
And there's a really quick cancel that we can do. But here is our 5th boss, which is Muddy. M-U-D-D-E-E. But right there, I just canceled it. We're gonna go right here. And there we go. There's 1, 2, and 3.
Not bad. There's some timing cues that you can use to just hit the boss as quickly as possible. On the second phase, you do have to wait because he comes out with the spikes facing you, so you have to wait for him to rotate. But on the first and third, he comes with his, like, vulnerable spot facing upwards, so you can just ground pound right into it.
But these 3 items now finally combine. And that was the Horn, Petal, and Gems, which they combine to erupt the volcano. How the Music Box world survives such an eruption, who knows?
So yeah, right off the bat, this gives us 2 levels. One of them is W6, the West Crater, and the other one is not actually the East Crater, it's the Colossal Hole. We don't actually care about the West Crater for a long time in this run because we're going to do some sequence breaking right now.
Yep. So, normally, there's an owl right here, and you're normally supposed to get daytime here, but you can also do a wall jump. And I'm messing it up. There we go. I didn't want to risk messing up that.
Yeah, if you time that wrong and like get out of the wall while the thing
now we
is
have the
stuck
owl.
in the ground, then it's bad.
And I'll take a really slow right there, just to ensure you don't mess it up. There is another owl just in case you do, but it's better to not mess it up. But instead of going for the gray chest, we're actually going for the green. And there's another trick here, where if we're on the ladder, we can instantly ignite.
Yeah,
We
it
have
can
to
be
be
like a
facing
certain
right
distance
toward
down the ladder and facing right when you go down the ladder. I think it was found on accident by Becco a while ago, and it's useful in this room, and that might be it.
That's actually it. But I counted 8 hit-offs from the walls there before I did my jumps, because that gives me the timing cue to break the fire blocks leading to the chest.
Yeah, I guess we haven't seen any precise fire strats yet until now, but fire just has a timer that counts down as long as you're running along the ground. Jumping interrupts that, so you want to minimize jumping when you're on fire. And it stops and gets you into that kind of fully on fire state where you can't jump and you can only move left and right. So you want to just make sure that you get hit in the right spot on fire, and you also jump at the right time so that when you are fully on fire, you're on the platform that you need to be on. There's a couple pretty tight fire strats later on that can be run killers.
Now we're heading to E1 because getting boots allows us access to E1 green, which I do want to do because it sets up my timings for later, or not timings. It'll set up my day-night cycle for later.
Yeah,
But
the
one
day-night cycle
quirk-
still runs when you're on the east map, even if you can't see it.
Yep. But one quirk about this game is that if you unlock the power-ups out of order, the game only checks for the most recent power-up chest that you obtained. So in this case, because we got boots, we actually unlock everything before boots for the time being. But we can actually get set back later if we unlock an earlier power-up. I just broke those blocks in case I messed this up. Nope, we're good.
Nice.
It is faster to actually get a setup from the left side top ladder, but doing it the way I did it makes the wall jump easier.
Yeah, classic left versus right wall jumps. If you
And
do it
this is
from the ladder,
actually
then you're guaranteed to be on one pixel that works, but you have to dash for a little bit longer, so the timing is different, so it will mess with muscle memory unless you specifically practice that wall jump.
Yep. And that was actually the 4th music box that we got, not the 3rd. But the reason why we want this is because we need to complete W5 Gray for my day-night cycle to align, to allow me to do more of East locked into night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 there just gives me the alignment for getting the gray key, which we do need to get. But now we jump through the pulleys, and we actually need to hit the 2nd pulley to reach the chest. So for the time being, this chest isn't going to make a difference, but when we go back to East, it will come into play. Now it unlocks something in S5, which we haven't even unlocked yet. It unlocks the blue chest in E1, and the blue chest in E4. But now we're going to head back to N1. This is the sequence break that we mentioned. That is allowed in glitchless.
Yeah, so normally to do N1 green, there's 2 items that you need. You need a bag of wind, and you need a tornado item. And that makes it so that in the green chest room, there's leaves that fall from the sky. But during the daytime, there are these spider enemies. I don't remember what they're actually called. And they just have this animation where they go up and down, and you can bounce on them when they're facing downwards. So what you want to do is jump off the platform to the right to spawn them, and then wait for them to be low enough for you to actually bounce on. So right there, Lotus did a jump to spawn it, even though you can't really see it. It's like just barely off the screen.
And then the
he's
extra
doing
jumps that I'm doing just gives me the timing cue.
Yeah, there's a jump buffer in this game, so that's a pretty consistent way to do that.
But this actually unlocks one of the later power-ups as well, and this is the Super Flippers. So now we can outswim currents as long as we have it.
Yeah, so currently we have 2 power-ups that we've skipped that we'll need to come back for at some point, and we do that strategically in the route so that being set back by the power-ups that we have just lost doesn't actually matter too much, and it's still better to do the sequence break.
Yep. So we're going to make use of what we unlocked to go to N4 green. And this is the one that we do for the current outswim.
N4 green has this vine room, which is a little bit tricky sometimes. If you fall down, then you get sent back either to the beginning of this room or halfway through the room. But at the end of it, there's a boss called Pesci, or however else you could pronounce it. It's a kind of dinosaur fish.
I'm just making sure that the bugs are not in the way. Because falling down here is the biggest time setback that you can get in this stage, in this split. So we actually go into the water first, because this will let us properly charge to get 3 quick feeds. Because you just have to feed him 3 times and then you're done.
Yeah, he targets Wario if Wario's in the water. If he's not in the water, then he targets cheese if he sees it. And you want to feed him the cheese. And basically just setting up like that makes it so that he's basically guaranteed to do what you want, as long as you time everything correctly.
Yep. And fortunately, I managed to skip all the music coins in the Vine Room. Now, if this was all chests, I would want to collect all 3 of them, because it's only like a 5-second time loss, and it's worth it to get 30 coins.
Yeah, it's nice when you can get multiple coins in one go so that you kind of overlap the time loss from the, like, collecting coin countdown. Because that basically makes you lose, like, a second or 2 every single time you finish the level with coins. So, you don't get a whole bunch more time loss from collecting 2 coins.
Yeah.
In the same level.
Now, what we got there was the Wire Wizard, and as you saw, it basically just builds wires. And that actually is important as well, because after we're done with doing the red chest, which we're doing because we need to have the next one be at night, we can get this out of the way and then have our day-night cycle align perfectly for what we need to do. Because N5 green is the next chest that we're going to do, which we technically could have done, because there are actually wall jumps that you can do, but it's better to just wait until you get the Wire Wizard. Oh, and I totally went and overshot it. The red chest is actually located right here.
Counting is hard.
Yeah, counting to 4 is hard, okay?
Yeah, this chest contains like a quality of life item. It's not actually required for progression, but casually it's nice to have. Just lets you see what you've done in a level.
Yep. Of course, in all chests and 100%, it's required to get. Just like everything else.
Of course.
So once again, we're going to use fire to move faster, but we're going to cut it short. Now, even though we're collecting the gray key again, this, just breaking that wall is faster for this room.
Yeah, the alternative is to use spring to get up there, but that's far slower. And that's a shortcut that you can only use when you have the garlic power-up, which we have sequence broken to get.
Now, I think I was going to actually get flattened if I did not wait there, because I did just a jump, not a dash jump. So
Yeah,
I
there's a
just
cycle
did
skip you can do there,
underestimate.
but you have to be pretty tight with your timing.
Too far. There we go, that's better. There is another way you can do that Soap is really good at, but I'm not that good at it.
Yeah, if you stop walking exactly when you touch one of those spikes that's on the ground, then you take damage but don't take knockback, so you have iframes to go through. So basically kind of just spam right with like a specific rhythm, so that Wario walks forward 1 pixel each time, roughly.
And then we do the high wall jump there so that we can just be a shortcut right to the chest, essentially.
Yeah, it's another of those max height wall jumps. That's more difficult than the one that I mentioned earlier, because this time you have to hold up, although on keyboard that's not necessarily as much of a thing. As a controller player, I actually have to do some weird black magic with a joystick to actually get those to work without pausing.
So we're heading back to S3 because the Wire Wizard unlocked S3 green. There's a nice ladder scroll.
Yep.
And we're doing a wall jump right there because then we don't need to use the boiler.
Yeah, even if you don't do a ladder glitch, it's still faster to do that wall jump because getting the boiler all the way over to the left is pretty slow.
Yep. and then jumping up the wires is faster than doing just regular climbing, so that's why we're doing that. But we get the green key, and then we just have to scale to the top, but we have to avoid the spikes.
Yeah, and that guy is placed in a pretty annoying spot, that Applebee there, which throws apples.
So, do you remember that blue door that I mentioned when we first visited S3? Well, this is where that's going to come into play. Because we don't actually have the items that normally unlocks access to that area, but there's a thing in this game called a phase skip, and if you get the Wire Wizard, you not only unlock S3 green, but you unlock S3 red as well. So we're going to go right back in.
Basically, sort of in a similar manner to how power-ups work, the game just checks for the latest item progression, for like which version of the level it should load. And since the Wire Wizard comes later than the blue snake eyes that we normally need, and it gives us the level version for green, which already has the door open. And the blue snake eyes just come from the level that I said we won't care about for a while, the W6 gray and E4 gray, where we got the high jump sequence break instead.
And this phase skip is actually important because it means we can do the red chest here with having garlic, even though the red chest actually is what has garlic. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, kind of ironically, there's shortcuts in this level that require garlic, but it makes the level quite a bit faster. Like this wall that Lotus broke is a garlic wall, and it lets you get to the chest without doing the, like, 2 transformation puzzle where you have to get fat and break donut blocks and then...
And use zombie and
Wario
fire.
after, like, breaking fire blocks. Yeah, it's very long.
Yeah, it saves, I think, 90 seconds if you can do it. And in 100% it is absolutely worth going for.
Yeah.
But now because we got an earlier power-up, we have actually set back our progression on power-ups. So we've actually lost the ability to outswim currents and perform high jumps.
And super ground pound, but we'll get that pretty shortly.
Yeah. But normally garlic is what unlocks N4 red and E4 red.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we have to do some like particular sequence breaks is because garlic, unlike the other power-ups, actually unlocks its own independent level, which is Sea Turtle Rocks.
And we actually didn't mention the stage names for N4 and N5 earlier. N4 is Bank of the Wild River, and N5 is the Tidal Coast.
Yeah, I sometimes mix those up because they're unlocked at the same time and they're both watery levels.
Oops.
Generally, speedrunners just refer to them by the cardinal name and a number, like N4, because it's easy.
Way easier. Yeah. S3 green, by the way, unlocked the crater map, and that's actually what unlocks E6, the East Crater, but we actually can't visit that stage yet. Oops. So we're doing a wall jump here as well, because we can actually skip this boss too.
Ooh.
Or we can just mess it up. It'll be faster for me to just do this.
That surprises me, but I respect it.
That boss is just really slow, so... Yeah, sometimes...
Yeah, I think if you get this walk that first try, I think the number I've heard is that it saves 25 seconds.
Yeah, 25 or 30 seconds. Oops. And you actually have to be jumped up, so... There we go. Yeah, sometimes it's better to just throw away a boss attempt. And that is one of those cases. But this is what the third music box is.
Yeah, this one unlocks S5 Cave of Flames, which, this one has a ladder scroll that actually saves more time than the S3 ladder scroll, at least in one level attempt. This one saves about 30 seconds.
I think it's closer to 25.
Yeah, it's still pretty impactful. It allows you to get the key instantly, and then you'll see what
If
we
I
have
can
to
get
do to get to the chest.
Got it. But I'm gonna take this part slow because if you mess it up, then you can see that I'm actually back there.
Yeah, once you get the ladder glitch, it's not over yet. I've actually gotten this ladder glitch before, just like kind of a joke attempt at it, but I actually got it, but then I didn't know what to do down here.
Wow, did I really just hit the same spot twice?
Looked like it. That's okay.
I did.
That's worth going for a couple more times, I think. Just for the swag.
3 times!
Do you keep getting stuck with
I
a lot?
promise that I'm not that bad at this one.
No, it's just some type platforming, so you have to like do specific movement to get over some ledges, or rather some gaps.
I'm still amazed that I'm actually getting it quickly. Alright, there we go. Now we got it.
Yeah, that's not trivial movement, because you can't see it all, so you have to use the portion of the level that you can see, which is not intuitive because the platforms don't match up.
And now the chest was actually unloaded because we were right at the spot, essentially. But if we just unload the spot, then we can reload it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When you save, the camera position gets reset, but the game remembers, oh, you're in this spot and there was not a chest here, so you have to go back and respawn it, because otherwise it will just... That pink door there is what it looks like when you already have collected a chest, and if you leave using that pink door, then you don't actually get the treasure. It just takes you out of the level, and nothing happens.
And the item that we got is called the Purity Staff. And the black water that we saw in N6, as well as E2, and actually is here as well, is now purified. So now it's just regular swimmable water.
Yeah, and
Does
the
the
reason you
black-
want the water to be swimmable is just for these black doors here. You can't go in them if the water is black. Funnily enough, they actually use a different palette, so like if you're using a specific like emulator mode that shows you the palettes of blocks, then you can see the door, but even if you press up, you can't actually go in.
Oops. There we go. So I got the... So what I did there with the wall jump was I actually stored a clip, and if you use water, you can actually continue the storage.
Yeah, because you never enter the falling state properly until you press a direction, and it just keeps that, you know, next frame of falling movement in memory until either you leave the level or you leave the water.
And we're actually going to do that again in E2, since we opened up the green chest. We're not going to care about the red chest because we don't want to do that right now. But
Red
I'm
chest
going to
is
need
pretty
the...
slow without the upgraded glove.
There we go.
In addition, we want to get the coins during the red chest, and we don't have full access to everything yet.
Technically speaking, that's actually wrong. There is a way that we can do it, but it's just way slower. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But we just got the lantern and the flame. Why there's a flame in the frigid sea, please do not ask. But those combine together to unlock E3, Castle of Illusions. And now we actually have access to E6, the East Crater, as well. But we're going to do E3 first. And the reason why is because E3 Gray has the next power-up chest. And we have to ensure that we get the final power-up last. Because otherwise we actually can't complete the game. If it was any percent, you'd be able to, but not with 100% or all chests. That was a nice charge. Nice charge. And then we do a wall jump there so that we don't have to use the boiler.
Yeah, now that we have this power-up, we've gotten all the power-ups except for the last one, so we just want to go directly to E6 Gray, which is the Golden Glove, or the last power-up, and after that we won't have to worry about power-ups anymore, because we just have all of them.
And getting to the Golden Glove is what I would classify as the early game.
Yeah.
So once we have the Golden Glove, we're out of the early game in a 100% category. And you actually could, with routing differences, you could do E6 Gray even earlier than what I'm doing. But it's because of the W5 Gray being the detonator that we actually want to be doing it then.
Yeah, depending on your route, you should be leaving this level in about an hour. I don't know exactly how many extra levels you're doing, but I assume we're pretty close to that.
It is 4. So in the case of this specific route, which is the route that's used for the record, a good time would be getting the Golden Glove at just over an hour 3 minutes. Unfortunately, we're over an hour 4 minutes, so I'm actually over a minute behind. But that's alright.
Yeah, I assume it was mostly because of S5 Gray. That was just unfortunate.
I'm still amazed that I got that one 4 times. But now we can lift up the heavy enemies and break throw blocks the same way that we could with small enemies.
Yeah, you can do like most of the same stuff, but it's slower. Like you walk slower, and also it takes like twice as long to charge up a full throw.
Mm-hmm. And you're moving at half speed. So, yep. Now we actually want to go right back to E3. We could have done this before, but there's actually a clip that we want to do, and it requires us having the ability to do high jumps, which we need to get the Golden Glove again to do, since we already got boots previously.
Yeah, so first we're getting the red key, which is just hidden behind this pillar.
Yeah, that's alright.
I assume that would be pretty annoying to find. I don't remember how I found that casually, if I even did on my own.
So now we're going to use a clip, so that we could just jump up 4 like that.
Yeah, the way that particular thing works is just because getting like frozen like that snaps you up to that semi-solid. So the game basically treats it as if you landed on that platform.
That was a very fast setup.
Yeah, there's like a range of like 8 pixels or something that works for that. So you just want to make sure that you're inside that range, and then you do an enemy bounce clip, which is you do that by throwing an enemy in midair, and then on a particular frame you do a dash jump, and landing on the enemy in midair cancels your dash in the same way that like turning around normally would. So then you have the same state where you're in midair and can press a direction for one frame to go 3 pixels.
Now getting the torch that we just got actually has more than one use. It not only unlocks E7 Forest of Fear, but it actually unlocks the shortcut between East and North. But now we're finally going to do our first coin split, which is E4 red. So now we need to get all 8 coins in one visit, as we mentioned. So there's 1. We go down.
Yeah, coin splits in general just require going to the majority of the areas in a level in one go. So they usually take a little bit longer, with a couple exceptions of coin splits that are surprisingly fast.
We're going to skip that coin for now because we're actually going to have a different way to get that one. So for now, we don't have to care about it. But it is advantageous to do this one at night. Whoops. We need a charge here. Because if you do this one during the day, these fire bots are actually burr bears, which are the bears that shoot the ice projectiles. And as mentioned, they take longer to charge their throw. So this is why it's way more advantageous
to them through the gaps like that.
How many normal enemies are there? Do you guys know?
A lot.
Let's check WarioLand3.com. But yeah, there's several, and many of them appear in multiple levels. There's a couple like one-offs.
So right now our coin count is 4. We're going to ignore the blue chest because we don't care about it. But we're up to
I'm
5
surprised you do
coins.
blue first. Or, I'm surprised you don't do blue first, rather.
That probably would be the more optimal way to do this.
There's a lot to consider when making a route. I used to do route making before Lotus joined the speedrunning community, and it's very common to just like make a route that has some random slow thing about it or just doesn't work. It takes a lot of iterating to find something that works with the current knowledge, and then of course you're probably going to figure out something a few months later that's like, oh, this would save time if I did it this way.
Yeah, E4 red is also a golf split. So that's all the more reason why we want to be doing it on the red, especially since the red chest room actually has what will be our 8th and final coin. So literally there's like no room for negotiation with this stage. Now we're actually going to the left here because our 6th coin is right above to the door we need to go. Oops. There we go. So this is the location of the red key.
If you're
And
a
I'm not
chess
gonna do
player, there's a colored coin hidden in the left there that you would also probably get, but we don't really care about those because we have plenty of coins by this point.
And we're going to set up the rolling glitch again. That one's a lot faster.
Nice frame perfect jump.
But this is because we need to go and break through that block, which is faster than just getting inflated upwards. But there's coin 7. And then here is where the minigame clear is. Now, if this was a task, you'd actually be able to skip this golf because you can turbo scroll.
Yeah, if you just press A on every other frame, it scrolls the screen in a similar fashion to what you can do with ladders. That was actually the first way that people knew how to do it. A Japanese tester named Isman found that. And then, I believe it was Black SR, who was an earlier runner of this game, who figured out that you can also do it as a human with ladders. It's still difficult, but it's actually doable by someone with a normal controller or keyboard.
Shameless flex. But that unlocks N4 and W3, both blue chest. But another advantage of the owl is that we don't have to fall all the way down to get the gray key.
There's also a wall clip you can do there, a reverse wall clip, like what you saw very early in the run, but if you miss that, then you fall down, so it's not really worth going for in this run.
Especially since you have the boots, so it's just better to use the owl. But now we're going to head to E7. And this is the advantage of having the detonator. It's that we can actually get E4 done earlier, with the exception of the blue chest, which we really don't care about right now. But it'll... Why am I actually getting the...
I was about to
coin?
say.
Did I even get the key?
No.
Okay, I need to be demoted. I need the key. I was thinking that I was doing E7 red for some reason, so just not talk about that.
E7 is a bit funny because you can do the coins pretty early. You only need one item to unlock all the coin locations in this level, assuming you have all the power-ups.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I
that's
did it way too early
unfortunate.
there. Using the upper route there is faster, despite the fact that it collects a coin, so that's why it's better. There we go. Much better.
This music sounds familiar.
Yeah, this level and the other optional level, they both have unique music. I don't know if it would have been used somewhere else. It's possible.
The E7
Yeah,
one is unique only to E7. The E5 one is unique to only E5, which, by the way, we're unlocking E5 right now, which is the Warped Void.
But yeah, both of those levels, their music doesn't use the theme that you hear in every other level. These two levels are just not required for beating the game, so you may or may not have actually seen them. They're just... everything they unlock is within themselves, with the exception of the crayon, which is also not required for beating the game.
Now, we did a high wall jump there so that we could just get the key way earlier. But now we're going to go through these warp spots. Because that just gets us right back to the start easier.
Yeah, these...
Easier and faster than having to do the high wall jump a second time.
all those warp tiles just take you back to the start here. In a couple levels, those warp tiles will be gone, which will allow us to actually reach other portions of the level.
Actually, it'll be after this one. Because I do E7 green first, before E7 red. Jumping off the bird there is faster for navigation.
Yeah, it's nice to skip a little bit of the vine climbing. Especially when all those spikes are in the way.
Now, I know, Soap, you're going to ask if I'm going to do the wall jump for red, and the answer is no. Sorry.
It's really cool, though.
So I actually got the wall jump first try, but then I messed up the movement. There we go. Now we're just going to move so that we stay with the vampire bat cycles. Oops.
Technically, you can do that by just walking straight across, but if you spawn one of those guys slightly wrong, then it doesn't work.
I actually wanted to use that same spearhead that I just crushed, but I messed up the throw blocks there, so...
Yeah, it would have been pretty difficult to actually get him out of there.
Yeah. So, I just cut my loss. But if you do that optimally, you can save 15 seconds over breaking the throw blocks here first, and using Vampire to travel up. But now those warp spots are gone. So we've unlocked the red and green chests. It only shows it once, but we actually unlocked 2 chests there. But now we're going to get the coins. So this time, going down here is not a mistake. Oops. We're going to actually do a wall clip.
Yeah, if you do that wall clip, technically, you're not doing the thing where you jump and then go into the wall, but you still clip 2 pixels in, and because you're turning around, the game assumes that you're facing right, so it gives you damage to the right, or to the left instead.
And we're actually going to do another wall clip in this room. If we go right here, then we can actually get the same thing, if we time it right.
You don't need that for the coin, though.
Yeah, no, good point. That's for the key, so, which we don't need. So actually what I needed to do was, I need to jump up. There we go. So now we're going to need this bird
coins
again.
early here is just that there's no zombies in that blue room, which would normally get in your way.
There we go. So now we're up to 4. And I'll have Soap explain the wall jump that I'm not going to do.
Yeah, so it saves 7 seconds over the previous optimal strat. But basically, you do a dash jump, but then cancel the dash jump and bounce off one of these birds. So you basically just hold A out of a pause buffer, and it guarantees that you get the wall clip if you paused on the correct frame as a dash. But it's pretty difficult. It requires timing the dash jump with when the bird starts to take off. And you also have to pause on the correct frame, so the first part isn't frame perfect, but is somewhat precise, and then the second part is frame perfect, so it's difficult, and I kind of just do it for swag. it's not very often that I actually get it first or second try.
Oops. There we go. That position is a lot more precise than you might think, but it's worse if you get hit by the zombie. Zombie
Yeah,
is...
you just want to get hit by this hammerbot as early as you can, so throwing it over this water and getting hit immediately after is good.
There we go. Now we're good. But we need to jump all the way up. So that's 7 coins. And the 8th and final coin is in this room, which also contains the red key. Oops. Because you could jump up there. You could do a wall jump for that, but you have to do it as a right-facing wall jump. So it's better to just use the spearhead.
Yeah, so we had to go to the right to get the key and also the coins, but now we have to go to the left this time to get the chest.
And I'm actually just going to stay right here until I get closer to flashing. Right here. And then you just land right to the chest. And then E7 red is a combo item, where you need 2 items to unlock it with something else. But we don't have access to that chest yet. So we go right back to E5. Out of all the stages in the game, E5 and E7 are the 2 most interconnected with each other, because they only unlock things within themselves.
They're also more difficult overall than the other levels, mostly just because of their being optional. E7 is difficult because of like spikes and platforming difficulties, and E5 is difficult because it's confusing. Although that doesn't matter as much when you actually know where to go as a speedrunner.
Yep. But
Yeah,
that is
most of the
the...
doors in E5 are one-way doors, if not all of them.
Yep.
So you have to like go between different rooms in some counterintuitive ways sometimes.
But E5 green gives us the zombie blood, and that unlocks the zombies for E7 blue. Oops. Yep, so red key is right there, and red chest is in this room as well. Just a very quick drop.
Yeah, if you don't know where to go, then you might spend a few times dropping down here until you get the exact right positioning. But it is designed so that you can get the key and the chest in one go.
Now the crayons, they're not progression technically, but once you have all of them, that hill that it just colored is going to actually turn green. And that means you've got all of them. Now hopefully I get this wall clip first try.
You may be wondering what happens when that hill turns green, and the answer is you unlock golf. You can get this, basically, it's not actually free play because you have to pay for it, but it means you don't have to go through the levels to play the golf, and it approaches it in a more traditional fashion where you do each of the 5 holes in a set in a row.
Yep.
And,
By the way, now that we have over 50 chests, our golf costs 50 coins now, and there are 15 different holes that we could have to deal with. The cost of golf is based on the number of chests, similarly to the number of holes available. When you have less than 25, it only costs 10 and there are only 5 holes available. When you have at least 25 but less than 50, it'll cost 30 coins and there are 10 holes available. And then 50 or more, and it will cost 50 coins with 15 holes available.
yeah, and each of those, like, sets of 5 are the the 3 courses that you can get in the golf tower. There's a secret 4th one also, which the way that you get that is just by getting all of the music coins. You may have noticed in the few music coin splits that we've seen, when you get all 8, it colors in a tile in this 5x5 grid. And when that is all colored in, then you get to do the secret 4th course, which just has even harder golfs.
Now this room right here actually has 2 coins, but we're going to skip them for now, because there are more important coins to deal with first.
Yeah, getting those early
Oh,
is
I almost
not
got the early
really
cycle.
beneficial. Yeah, you have to do some precise movement. I don't fully understand what movement you have to do. Sometimes it works, but usually it doesn't.
Ah. That's what I get for trying to not do it the way I do it. We actually do need to be flattened, though, because there is one coin that we can only reach while being flattened, because, as you can see, we fall like paper. Yeah, so I'm just going to take the safe approach. So you do left, right, and then hold left, and then we get the coin.
Yeah, I just count to 4 there. It works for either direction that you could be going.
But we actually have to go back in there because there's a second easily missable coin if we don't do it.
I have missed this coin before. Especially like in some of my D-Rust attempts from last year.
Yeah, that is one of the most easily missable coins in the entire game.
Yeah, simply just because you can go through that rim twice.
Now we wanted to break the throw blocks to get this hammer bot, because we actually need it for the coin that's up here. But it's important that we don't kill him, because we can actually unload him, it'll reload right here, and then we could just go up.
There's another strat you can do there where you do a heavy enemy bounce, which is different from the normal enemy bounces that you've seen. You have to jump like 1.5 tiles up and then throw. It's kind of weird timing. And
that's because heavy enemies don't go up as far, and they fall a lot faster.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can get this. That's 1.
Nice.
2. Perfect.
Yeah, both of those jumps are frame perfect. You just have to hold A for a specific amount of frames so that you don't snap up to the ledge, but you still touch the coin. The coin's hitbox is not nearly as big as it seems.
And then we're doing a high wall jump right here, so that we can skip part of the puzzle. Normally we have to break that donut block and then get flattened again. But with the high wall jump, we skip both of those. And that will lead us to the chest, which is down here. And then we have to deal with the falling platforms again. And there we go. I'm sure it's known by this point, but easily the biggest time loss that you can get in a 100% run is missing a coin. So you don't want to do that.
Yep, because if you get 7 coins, then you basically haven't done that level and you need to do it all again. Although, you might be able to save a little bit of time on the second go, because you don't need to get the key, and you might be able to leave through a different exit, but that's not something you want to worry about. Ideally, you just get all the coins.
So now we are doing W4 green. W4 green is better to do at night, but it's not explicitly required.
Yeah, the primary reason for that is just because there are certain enemies that are asleep, the spearheads, which are blue enemies. Here's one of them.
There's one. This is easily one of the worst coin splits, just because the green chest itself is one of the worst chests. And this is actually the chest that I mentioned very early into the run that I could not figure out.
Yeah, casually, it's a kind of long puzzle where you're hitting a switch to turn on blocks and then hitting it again to turn off blocks, and you have to break a specific set of donut blocks while being Fat Wario, which might not be super intuitive. In a speedrun with wall clips, you can skip the entirety of that puzzle, although we still have to go into a couple of the side rooms to get coins.
Yep. Right now we're up to 3 coins. And our 4th coin is actually down below. Right there.
You can also get that as Zombie Wario without having high jump, but it's way slower because you then have to walk all the way to the left until you touch the light that's coming from one of these windows.
And when you're Zombie Wario, you only move at quarter speed. So, I'm actually going to show what you normally need to do with this, but you do that. There's 5th coin, and then you actually turn into Ice Wario to get rid of that frog. Now you can actually
also
do a
glitch there, but it doesn't save that much time. It is faster, but maybe not worth it for a human, just because you kind of want to minimize the amount of ladder glitches you do that aren't super impactful, because it's a bit of a strenuous activity.
Yes, it is. And that's why I was amazed that I got the S5 one 4 times. But this is the toughest wall jump in the game.
The main thing that makes it tough is just that you have to hold up at the start of your jump so that you jump higher, but then you have to let go of it.
There we go.
And then it is also a max height wall clip, so if you don't press right to go back into the wall at the right time, then you'll press it when you're too low, or you'll press it late, and you'll have already fallen too far. Not to mention just stopping the dash on the correct frame to even get the opportunity to try it.
It is also one of the most impactful for a single split because it saves the most time for a single wall jump.
Yeah, it just skips this entire puzzle, so it's extremely worth it.
Yeah, I think you could take, is it like a dozen tries at it and still be faster than doing it normally?
For my own runs, that's the only wall jump that I actually buffer, just because I can do it with like a D-pad and joystick, but it's kind of weird with how you have to let go of up, so it's just easier to buffer with a pause. And pause buffering is kind of slow because opening the pause menu takes a couple seconds, so I avoid it in all other places, but that one is just... I find that it's more worth it. It gives me more successful attempts. As a runner, you can kind of choose how you approach things.
Yep. And when it comes to the routing for this game, there's actually a lot more flexibility than you might expect. You can order quite a lot of this around. But there are some constraints that you do want to be following. Like, for example, N1 green you always need to do during the day, N5 green you always need to do at night. There are some other ones that you specifically need a certain time of the day to do it.
I'm just curious, are you doing early or late spider skip in this route?
This is an earlier spider skip.
We'll see that at some point, but spider skip is basically just a very difficult enemy bounce clip that you do during a boss in order to skip the boss, which saves a minute and a half, I think.
Mm.
And
but each failed
because of the
attempt is like a
flexibility in
15-second time loss.
Yeah, so like if you do it, I think if you take 5 tries at it, then you're breaking even, I think.
I want you to explain this, so.
Yeah, so this is something that you can do in a couple levels where the water happens to be at a certain point in the screen, basically by swimming downwards. Sort of similarly to doing part of the ladder and climb, you scroll the screen, although this time the screen goes up. And this one is actually not strenuous at all to do, you just press down for a certain amount of time.
The visual cue I use is when that larger cloud appears.
I personally wait until the screen starts scrolling more smoothly. Just as long as you're not doing it early, because if you jump out early, then you lose all your progress.
Yep. But if you use the visual cue of the larger cloud, you know you've got it complete.
Yeah.
But that just lets you get the coins up above way faster. Otherwise,
Yeah,
for the
one of those is just platforming, and then another one is
you have to get
you
flat.
have to be flat, which is very slow. And I think the third one on the top left, you have to use Spring Wario normally, which is also slow.
Well, we could just use garlic. We could just use garlic and then dash.
I'm talking about the top left one at the start of the route.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nope, that one you're right. I thought you were referring to top right. But we have to go back to the red chest room because it has one of the coins. Fortunately, the way out is very, very straightforward, where we could just hold A.
Yep.
And because we can outswim currents, we could literally hold A. There we go.
Breaking. I guess something I didn't explain, but there's, this isn't exactly an animation cancel, but it just makes it so that, when you bonk into the block, when you're breaking it, you go downwards instead of, like, back and up. And that makes it so that you can touch the ground faster and do another dash to break the next row of blocks faster.
With that, we have now reached the blue chest room with all 8 coins.
Something subtle there, Lotus swam straight up at the beginning of this blue chest room just so that the Applebee would throw the apple straight down instead of to the right. If he throws it to the right and you time it just wrong, then it'll probably get fattened while you're on the ladder, which loses like 10 seconds or something more.
Yep. Yeah, that's alright. Getting hit by there is just an inconvenience. It only costs a couple seconds. But for N6 green, all we have to do is just keep rolling. Keep rolling. You probably noticed that there was a very slight red tint in that room. We're going to head back through there again. And that's actually where the blue chest room is. That actually leads to where the blue chest room is, but because it's not lit up, we don't have access to it.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Staff of Purity, which is also used in this level. In this case, you actually visually can see the door, but it just doesn't do anything.
Yep. And I'm actually going to explain this now, just because it has bearing with the next chest. By the way, that was the first half of the Sunstone that unlocks access to daytime once you have both pieces. But every stage has its own kind of layout, so to speak, and normally it's inconsequential, but when it comes to N6 Red, it's very, very important.
Yeah, basically, when you load a level, it's copied into the RAM, and all of the rooms kind of touch each other in a grid, depending on how they're stored.
There we go, first try.
And so, by doing this transformation clip here, and leaving this room with the red chest, you actually enter the room where the blue chest is, and you can navigate that off-screen. You kind of have to contend with these sparks here, because they still touch you, even though you're not in the same room.
There we go, we're good.
And then there's I think a 2-pixel window to get this damage boost to touch this red key. That red key is in a wall, but when you do a damage boost, you clip like inside the wall by 1 pixel and can just barely touch the key.
And then if you do a dash and a time jump, then you can actually reach the red chest. So we just hit the red chest out of bounds and skipped a golf. But this actually gives us the 2 golden eyes. And that opens up S3 blue. And, by extension, the coins. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you were to get the golden eyes before the Wire Wizard, you probably could actually unlock S3 green at the same time as S3 blue. but the problem is you need it to get all the power-ups to actually do S3 blue. And normally the Wire Wizard is what unlocks S3 green to begin with. And you'd have to do that too. Oop.
Yeah, with the task route, I believe you do that a little bit earlier just because you can do W4 green early.
So here's the difference
Unfortunate
between
heavy spin.
Yep. And this is the difference between lava hazard and water hazard. Water hazard
Yeah, lava
puts
takes you
right
back to
forward.
where you started, whereas water takes you to the edge of where you hit the hazard.
Yep. There we go. So now if I do a full power shot, then I'll get in the hole.
How do you know that was gonna make it?
Because I've
These golf
examined
courses
the
are just
golf inside and
predetermined.
out.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so there's like, I don't remember, is it like 9 different power levels of shots that you can take?
I think it's 10.
Yeah, I guess it, with the way that you categorize it, it goes to -9, so yeah, it starts at 0. But, each power level, even though it's like a full gauge, there's only basically 2 power levels per each color on the gauge. So, if you just memorize specific shot numbers, then you can guarantee get into every hole as long as you actually get the timing on the power
Yep.
gauge.
Yeah, it's a lot less granular than it looks. But this is the second of the crayons, and I think there's 8 crayons? I could be wrong on that number.
I believe it's 7.
Now I'm actually going to do a ladder scroll here. Got it. And this is because I've actually practiced the maneuverability with this recently.
Yeah, that ladder scroll saves a few seconds. I don't personally go for it because I don't go for any ladder scrolls, but it just lets you get those coins without having to go down and back up.
There's actually another ladder scroll that we could do, but I don't want to do a second one if I can help it.
Yeah, I think this one, like, there's no way this one is better than the other one.
No, not a chance. I messed up. There we go.
Still works. The alternative to doing a wall clip there is to do an enemy bounce either with the spear bot or with the hammer bot. There are setups for both of those. The intended way to get out there is just to use Spring Wario.
So I'm hoping that I can get a gold split here just to get an idea of how much faster it is to do the ladder scroll. There's
Cut out there a
7.
little bit, but I noticed that you did a charge throw. I never thought about doing that for that set of blocks.
Actually, no, I did that wrong. So nope, I won't be able to figure it out yet.
That's okay, at least you didn't get hit.
Yeah.
You look so shocked.
Yeah, some of the sprites in this game are pretty funny.
Now we can actually fly in the triangle light spots here, because they're not actually full light spots.
Yeah, those triangle spots are basically just air, whereas like the ones that are full squares of light, those are the ones that actually count.
Yep. So literally they're just there for visual. But all we have to do against Yellow Belly is ground pound him, and then hit the pump. Got it. I just wanted to mess around with that last one. I did a jump there because if you time that properly, then you can actually fall down just slightly faster, saves a few frames.
Yeah, but it just lets you get to your top speed while you're jumping instead of when you fall, which happens a little bit later.
Yeah, so I think I lost about 5 seconds there. Because even despite that mess up, I was actually right on par with my gold split, which is 320 in that. But now we have access to daytime. And here is the reason that we actually wanted to do that at night. If we did that during the day, then it would actually be daytime again. And that actually can mess with our day-night cycle.
Yeah,
If we do it at night, we don't deal with that.
By its own virtue, it doesn't actually mean much, like, in terms of gameplay. You could make a route around that, but because of the way that we make our routes, it's pretty annoying to have to, like, mess with that.
You actually do want to use the top door there. There we go. Now it seems like this is close, but if you move like this proper, you will always get through that without getting hit. So, although it looks risky, it's actually free time save.
Also worth noting, you also saw this when we were in here earlier for the gray chest, but Lotus is doing some particular movement just to avoid some random holes in the ground. This time you actually fall through there on purpose, just because that's the fastest way to get to this half of the level. But normally, falling in those pits is a time loss because you're trying to stay on top.
Now, it doesn't really matter if you do the coins for this at night or during the day, because either way we're going to do both blue and red, one after another.
Yeah, the only real impact is in a single room which has spearhead enemies in it, and there's ways to do it whether it's day or night.
Yep. Now, hopefully I can do the heavy bounce coming up here. I've had problems with
this particular heavy bounce has a funny setup just because of the wall that's in the way.
There we go, first try. I've missed that by pixels before, so even despite getting the right timing. So
yeah, you have to be on a certain set of pixels and also time the enemy throw with a certain timing of how high you jump.
Yep.
And the timing kind of changes depending on which pixel you're on. It's kind of subtle, but it can mess you up.
the way Ball of String Wario gets cured is just bouncing off 5 walls. So, oh, nice random color coin. But the last 2 coins are right there and in this secret attic.
Yeah, the only way you can really know if that's there is if you're jumping against the ceiling and notice that Wario jumps for longer in that particular spot because there is no ceiling.
Oops. Now we need to break all these blocks because we need to use Ball of String again to reach the chest.
Yeah, despite being like a big and quickly moving mass, you can't actually break through the pink blocks as Ball of String Wario unless they have like the yarn icon on them.
Yep. And this is just an action figure. Some chests are just collectibles, and this is one of those. I think there are 26 collectibles. No, 18 collectibles. Because there's the crayons, too. Now, I'm not going to forget the red key.
I have forgotten this red key, and I know that Lotus has as well. It's in a kind of funny spot that's almost on your path, but not quite.
And you have access to it right when you first unlock the stage. But this is another golf one, and unfortunately we can't skip it.
Yeah, even in a task, there's just no way. But that we know of currently. I kind of doubt that there is a way.
This is the best case haul.
Yeah, this is the other par 3, and it's 20 frames faster than the other par 3 that you can get at the beginning of the game.
But the reason why we can't get that in the first 2 is because it's in the medium course, so we have to have 25 chests to see it.
Yeah.
And this was actually one of the splits that I ended up messing up in the record run. So that gives you the wheels, and that's what unlocks W2 Red. W2 is actually a stage you cannot phase skip, so we actually have to get that.
Yeah, the wagon wheels for W2 behave differently, where the game checks for those individually, as well as the stone foot. Probably because you can skip the wheels, like they're not required for progression, so you could get the wheels later, after you get the stone foot, or earlier.
Or the snake flute, actually. Oh, don't want to get hit by those projectiles.
Yeah, and here's yet another golf course that there's no way to skip. Unless someone finds a way to, like, get through those sprites, but, I mean, they seem pretty solidly built despite being sprites.
And there's no way to unload it because the room isn't big enough.
Yeah, normally that's how you would skip it, is by, like, scrolling the screen so that it's unloaded, but yeah, just no known way to get past that.
There we go. So this medium course is kind of a pain, because if you don't get forward spin on the second or third shot, it will take 4 shots. But if you do get forward spin, then you can get it in 3.
Yeah, any course can be completed in 3 maximum, but there's a couple where you need to do forward spin. Because forward spin just changes the positioning slightly, so you might land right next to a hazard where, like, with a normal shot, you can't get close enough to it. And that
now...
treasure's a Pocket Pikachu, not a Game Boy. It's kind of like a, I guess sort of, I don't even know what it was. It was like one of those pocket pets, like a Tamagotchi. And I guess it probably was around this time, so they put in a little nod or maybe an advertisement for it.
And now we're going to set up that water clip again that we did previously, if we can time the jump. There is a simpler way to do it on the right side, but it is a few seconds slower.
Yeah, on the right side, you just get on a pixel and dash. You don't have to do any timing at all. So that was the kind of older way of doing it. I think Flack is the one who found the way to do it with that.
There we go. Now let's see if I can get this. Good.
I'll be right back.
That's fine. So that dash right there is a lot more precise than it looks.
Yeah, most precise intended dash in the game, I would say. It's less precise without high jump, actually, because you touch the ceiling later. And Lotus is theorized that maybe you're meant to get the coins when you don't have high jump, which makes sense to me, because you can get here and do the blue chest without high jump.
Yeah, but it would also require you to have to visit the stage 5 times.
Yeah.
That ground pound is just to force the spider down so we don't have to deal with a projectile shot. And we're going to go right here and then dash here to set up another clip. But
that
it's not for this
nice just because you line up the heel of Wario spray with the side of the block, and it's very visually distinctive.
Yep. Now I'm actually going to do a quick pause right here just to verify that we're at 6. The red chest room does have 2 coins, so... And I have missed one in this stage, so you don't want to miss it. It's better to bleed that couple seconds to verify that you have the coins than not do so.
Yeah, world record level is a reset if you miss a coin anyway, but when you're doing a marathon run like this, it makes sense to just make sure that we can actually complete the run without losing too much time to redoing an entire level.
Yep. And then we threw a bear there so that we could bounce off it after getting the key, which is a lot faster than going around.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite strats in the game.
And now we visit S3 for the final time. So let's see if I can get the final one.
Oh, close.
That's the problem if you do it too fast. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
once
right.
you get like off the rhythm and you mess it up, then it's kind of hard to get back on the horse.
Yep. You can save it, but it is a lot harder. Now the red chest area has 3 of the coins, but they're pretty much all on the way. The third coin, the second coin, not the third, which is up here, we can get without hitting the switch that we did previously. I should probably approach that a little more aggressively to get a quick eat. But that's okay.
Yeah, the only way to get out of this area is to have Donut Wario so that you can go through those particular donut blocks in that room. Otherwise, like, these pipes are one-way pipes, so you can't actually go back down through them. Not every
You
pipe is
could
a
go
one-way
out of
pipe.
bounds if you wanted to.
You could. That still requires being fat, though, or having Zombie Wario.
Mm-hmm. And you would also miss a coin, so you can't do it anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going too fast. Actually, I'm skipping a coin, apparently. But there's a clip right here. Got it. So we previously used this to get to the key. But on the left side of this same room, there's a coin. And we cannot skip that. It's especially bad if you miss S3's coins. Because, like I said, even though Soap had said that the run is over if you do miss a coin, if you are actually trying to contend for the record, the issue with S3 is that it is especially brutal because the final coin is in the blue chest room.
Something funny that I've done before is instead of missing a coin in this level, I actually miss the key, because you fall down for the coin and then get the key, but there's been a couple times where I just forget to like veer left for the key and just go right back up. Which is especially funny when it's right in our field of vision right here, and then once again later.
Unfortunately, we have to take that ladder twice. We don't have a choice there because of it being a coin, which by the way is unavoidable, and a key.
It's kind of hard to tell, but Lotus is doing like the thing where you slide down a ladder, and as long as you do that while the ground is quaking, the game doesn't count it as... Oh, that's unfortunate. But yeah, the game doesn't count it as actually climbing a ladder, so normally when it quakes and you are on a ladder, it like makes you go down very far and loses a decent amount of time.
There we go.
It's kind of
That's what I was trying to do.
way.
We actually used to do that one with the right-facing one using the ladder, but I found that one and it's a lot easier.
You could also do that as a left-facing wall clip to make the clip itself easier, but then it's very risky because if you don't do the jump at precisely the right moment, then the quake from the ground will make it so that you snap up to the left and you can't get across that gap unless you do it the intended way, which basically means you needn't have done the wall clip in the first place. So overall, right wall clip is a lot safer, even if it gives you one less frame to work with.
But that reverse one is way easier.
Yeah.
And fun fact, this item right here unlocks the last unlockable stage, and this is the only stage that that is unlockable that requires having all power-ups. But that is S6 above the clouds. Now we're gonna actually soft reset right here.
Yeah, unlike E5 and E7, this is an optional level that actually unlocks things in other stages.
Oh, too early. I should have
The
just
point
used
of the
balloon there.
reset was just to set up a wrong warp later at the top of this room. The soft reset just makes sure that the out of bounds that we're touching doesn't contain any solid blocks that get in the way.
Yeah.
This is a wrong warp that I actually found.
I'm actually
Go
going to
ahead.
show what happens if you do it intended, so you go right here. But if
Yeah,
you do
that's
the
true.
wrong warp, you go right up into the moon. And this is actually
I found
where
this
the
on
blue
accident while
chest
playing a
is.
ROM hack, but basically what happens is you go above the warp tiles because you can jump above them by one tile, and then you kind of touch them with the bottom of your sprite while most of Wario is actually in the sector above. And the game thinks that you're in that sector, so it takes you to the warp destination, but it's not defined because you're not actually inside the level, so it takes you to somewhere it really shouldn't be. If you do that during the day, later when we have more, like when we have a later version of this level with the scissors, you actually go to the room which you normally can't. Normally it's required that you have night so that you can go into the moon. And if you do it during the night, then you actually go to an undefined room, which is not useful. It's just a bunch of garbage.
And if you go into that room, you'll be soft blocked.
Yeah.
But because we don't have the scissors yet, we can safely do the wrong warp at night. But now this time we're going to use the wrong warp again, but this time we're going to actually use it to obtain the blue chest.
Yeah, this kind of temple room that we're in is just the area where the blue chest is, and it's at the top of the level. Lotus used it previously to get to the red area, and that's just because it is faster to go to the top of this room as opposed to going up it normally. Like, this is the room that we would normally enter by touching that warp in the intended way. But it's very slow normally because of all those cycle-based cloud platforms.
So that's the reason why we do that. And we'll actually be doing that one again when we go to the green chest. But we'll ignore it when we do the gray.
Yeah, gray is accessible from the first room, whereas the other three chests require you to go up.
Now, I brought up phase skipping with S3 before, but the pickaxe is normally what unlocks the blue chest in E6, the East Crater. However, like with S3, E6 can also be phase skipped, so we can actually clear out E6 in one visit now.
Yeah, there wasn't anything required to do gray, so technically there's no phase skipping to be done there, but also we couldn't do anything else on that visit because we had no other items. But we can now do red, green, and
done
blue.
the red, but it's not worth it.
Yeah, I suppose there is a fire extinguisher skip, but it's slow.
Yeah, I aimed for the enemy bounce. Normally I would just use vampire, but that's alright.
Enemy bounce looks cooler, but I don't know if it really saves time, because you have to contend with the drop cycle.
I'm back, sorry about that.
All good. 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's only the second coin right there. But we're gonna have to go all the way
the
back
entire
to
journey that you have to go through in that blue key area to get that one coin is kind of crazy.
And this time, we're gonna just not bother with Doll Boy.
Yeah, now we have high jump, so we can just go up these platforms. I believe this is among the longer coin splits, like the top 3 longest coin splits, maybe?
Just under 4 minutes. If there's one thing that does make it long, though, it would be a cutscene. But the S6 Blue, unlocking E6 Blue cutscene isn't that long.
It is at least my least favorite of the coin splits, just because you can lose a lot of time in it.
Yeah, it's not my least favorite, but it is down there. Did at least get a cycle skip right there. There. So now once again we're going to use an enemy bounce right here. Because as you can see, those trolleys are very, very slow. We don't want to deal with that if we can help it. Now you can actually do a water clip in this room to get this coin. And it saves 3 seconds. But it's a pain. And not really something I've practiced.
It's one of those things where I only go for it because I'm the person who found it, which isn't necessarily the best justification, but I do like things that look cool, I guess.
Now I'm sure So probably gets annoyed with me asking about the comparison between W2 green and W2 red for the coins.
Well, it's all for the advancement of the game. But yeah, it's somewhat similar to do green coins, but it is slower. Even if you're a TAS and you do a couple of tricks that you should not go for as a runner, like there's a damage boost that you can do at the end of that trolley to skip the last portion of it.
I think I might have just missed a coin. And if I did, I would know which one I did. Okay, no, I didn't.
Okay, we're good. You know better than me, I'm a little bit too rusty.
Yeah. The coin I would have missed was this one right here.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't miss it, so we don't have an embarrassment right there. I mean, at least we would have been able to do it with the green instead, but it still would have been a time loss. So we're going to use the bounce once again, but this time we're going to use it to get the golf.
So this is one of the golfs that can be skipped as a human, but it requires a ladder glitch, which is... Not only is it a ladder glitch, but there's also some kind of weird movement that you have to do off camera.
And this is one of the par 3s that requires 2 shots to complete. There are 2 par 3s that are unlocked with the hard course, which is 50 chess, and both require 2 shots. So I got one of those. Faster than basically on anything else, but the par 3s that require 1 shot only. Whoa. That was sloppy.
You haven't seen sloppy until you've gotten hit by a firebot and had to run all the way out of that room.
Oh, that would be brutal. Well, now we finally visit W6 for the first time.
And we're not even doing the great chest right now. We can do it anytime, but just for no particular reason, we're doing green first. I guess the particular reason is actually that we want to unlock the level that this unlocks, because W6 green actually unlocks things in the late game progression.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, at least I didn't fall onto the left side there.
Yeah, if you fall on the left side, you have to either platform all the way around or do a wall clip, which a wall clip isn't that slow, but it's best to avoid, I guess.
There. Now we actually could have done W6 green way, way earlier, but the problem with it is the fact that it would have, one, involved a ladder scroll, and it would have been way slower than just waiting until we did it now.
Yeah, as a task, you can actually do that in the task route, which there is no actual task, but there is a task route. I guess that might be a little confusing, but because you can just scroll the screen with Turbo A button, you don't actually have to worry about any of the other things that you have to do. Because there's two sets of fire. There's one below the ladder and one above the ladder. And as a task, you skip both of those.
So this time we are using the zombie clip again that we used before, but we're going to stop right at the fire.
Yeah, the purpose of that is just to skip two switch rooms, because you have to turn on the blocks and then turn them back off normally.
And we're doing blue first. We could do green first here, but we're going to do blue first. And this is one of those cases that for RTA we want to be having it during the day. And that's because the owls are sleeping, so we could just bump off of them to just get...
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention the fact that we just do a pretty big skip in this room by using an enemy bounce and getting up to the upper platforms with the help of the owl.
It is doable at night, but then you have to use a throwing wall clip. So... worth it in a task, but not worth it for RTA.
Yeah, it is actually faster, but you, as a human, you have to set it up and be on the right pixel, and ultimately it's not actually faster, I would say. Nor would it be worth it with the extra chance of failure.
Mm-hmm. The rust spray unlocks the blue chest in W6, S4, and S5. But now we're going to clear out E6, and we're going to start with the red chest, which has the coins. So the first coin is actually right at the start. With a bounce, we can get there quickly.
Yeah, the intended way to do that is to use one of these pneumos and be inflated, which is extremely slow because you have to go up quite a ways.
Oops. I actually did not want to do A. I actually didn't want to throw that first barrel the way I did. Whoop.
Something I didn't actually know is that you could stand on those when they're dead. I thought that Applebee had to be alive in order to stand there, but I guess it makes sense because it's a tile.
Yeah, they could be alive or dead. Me just getting rid of it was just a mistake. But right now our coin count is 3. And this stage actually has a little bit of interesting history when it comes to the coin split. Because previously
we used to do it during blue, which kind of makes sense because there's 2 coins in the blue room, and you can kind of just do it along the way. But the problem with that is that you have to, not only do you have to like go to the bottom of the level and then back to like near the top in order to get to the blue area, but there's also a couple coins in the red area that require you to do like part of the red puzzle, so it's a little bit of a time investment when it makes more sense to just do it while you're already doing the red chest as well.
It's actually a lot faster to do it as well. Like, I think it was about 21 seconds faster.
Part of that is aided by a strat that I found. I think there was, like, in the time attack task by Isman, there's a way to do it which is not consistent, but I found out that you can do a tricky level damage boost by just, like, allowing an enemy to fall right next to the wall that you're crouched in. You'll see it in action in a minute.
So I broke the blocks because we need to use fire again to kill the frog. I'd say out of all the enemies in the game, those frogs are just the worst. Even though they don't really do anything. Just the fact that they're in the way at all.
They do
I
seem
guess.
pretty annoying.
You could say that. Oh yeah, there's also these little slide gap skips. They're not actually clips, it's just because the game kind of corrects your position if you're about to fall between a one-tile gap. In order to actually do those little gap skips with a slide, you have to be on a specific set of pixels. Every other pixel works. because your sliding speed is 2 pixels per frame, so if you're on the wrong, if you're on odd pixels instead of even pixels or whatever it is, then you just won't get it. You have to be kind of careful with this, because if you go too far to the right, then you'll unload this enemy that's on the left, and you'll still save some time, but not enough.
And that was actually why I charged the throw for longer.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that I would have enough time. As you can see, snakes are very slow when it comes to breathing their fire.
And despite that, I have still gotten hit by a snake in E4 blue.
If a snake actually started breathing fire, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, they like rise up slowly, and then they do a very noisy sound, and then they breathe fire. Just like real snakes, of course.
Yeah, now we're gonna do the green chest. Now, it might seem like you'd get hit by those enemies, but if you just walk into the vent, you won't get hit.
Yeah, normally, like, when they're white and retracting like that, you'll bonk off them, but when you're in the kind of, I don't even know what to call that, just like being blown up in these vents, then you don't actually collide with them, unless they're red and spiky.
That was a nice first try high wall jump as well.
Yeah, that high wall jump saves a decent amount of time, because normally you have to use Vampire Wario to get to that key.
But by doing that instead, you save about 8 seconds. If you do it first try. And I think in this case I got closer to 6. Just because of a bit of sloppier movement. But that's alright.
Now for a cutscene that does not need to be as long as it is, it just repeats this animation of Wario looking around twice. But this just lights up that one room in N6, which we got into out of bounds, but we can't actually do anything with that. But now that we have these binoculars, you can actually enter the room normally and have everything loaded so you can do the chest.
How does looking for binoculars actually light the room?
I'm not sure.
Because they're night vision ones.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, night vision binoculars, the dreaded 2-in-1 combo.
Good, I didn't mess that up. Yeah, it's funny just how much faster E6 Blue is when you don't have to do the coins.
Yeah, everything's
But now we're gonna
right
head
there.
back. Now we head back to E3 though, because once again it's during the day. Whoops. There we go. So there's one coin right there, and there's another coin right there, but we're gonna go back for it. Famous last words says as he forgets it.
Yeah, the route for this is a little bit funny. By funny, I mean, like, they're kind of going back and forth in a couple of these rooms.
With this Spring Wario, you've got time for donations, because we're just going to be using it twice.
We have a $100 donation from somebody anonymous. I swear I just screwed that. But thank you for the $100 donation. It's greatly appreciated.
One quick explanation on Spring Wario, if you hold A, you can actually jump one tile higher. So if you know where to do it, then you'll have to do it.
It's a little bit evil that they put the key and the coin there. If you're not aware that it's there, or even if you are but you don't do that movement exactly right, then you might end up having to do the spring a third time.
There is a way to avoid it even if you do mess up that room, but you have to be able to land on those upper platforms. So we're up to 6 coins at this point. This time we actually do have to do this switch room. Because that enables us to get across. And we're once again going to head into the spike maze. But this time we're going to do it to get to the coins, which there are 2 in this room. Fortunately, there's actually a very nice shortcut we can do for the second one. Right there.
Yeah, some of the strats for this level were found by Destroyer. He found, in particular, that spike damage boost to land on top of the coin. Destroyer hasn't actually done a 100% run, he just figured out some things for a couple of the levels. He also figured out the water clip in S2 for the, second to last coin.
Oh look,
So-
it's the tree face.
If Lotus is first, Soap is second, who's third?
Third is Vlak SR, who last ran the category in 2016. I beat his world record 2 years ago at this point, I think. His run was like a 3:46, I think.
Okay.
And just with like a combination of new strats and the wrong warp, which saves a couple minutes at least, maybe more, I was able to beat that and narrow the time down. And then Lotus came in and narrowed the time down some more, and we traded a little bit.
When I started running, the record I think was in the 3:34 range.
Yeah, I think you beat my run by like 20 seconds, and then I beat it soon after, and then you beat it again, and I beat it again. It's been a lot of back and forth.
Yeah. Now this room actually has a unique trick that we're going to be doing. But it's not in this room yet. It's when we're exiting out.
Oh yeah.
That was very nice navigation.
For some reason, sometimes you don't get the full height that you want when you're bouncing off enemies. It's pretty annoying. And I don't think it's understood why it happens. I certainly don't understand it. I haven't seen anybody who
Right
does.
here. So if you jump right into the door and then hold A, you can actually buffer a jump. And that allows us to get that 6th coin without needing the pulleys to do it.
Yeah, that jump buffer is pretty funny. You can also press B on the exact frame that you gain control. That's frame perfect though. With the jump buffer, it's actually free. There's not really much use for pressing B out of doors like that. There's not that many mid-air doors in the first place.
That's actually the only one that has a practical use.
Yeah.
We could have actually done a double enemy bounce to reach that using the beam robota and the Numo. But the beam robotas are just annoying.
Yeah, the mid-air bounce is also kind of annoying. I used to do that a while back, but I no longer do it just because it's not very consistent, and... I mean, it saves time, but I don't think it's worth it.
So that's the win that we mentioned that we completely skipped because we didn't need it. But here's where that day-night manipulation that we did for East earlier comes into play. It enables us to do E2 red and blue both during the day, which is more optimal.
Yeah,
And
you'll
then
see
it-
why once we reach the right half of this level, but there's just like a kind of crystalline structure of ice that turns into a waterfall that you can just walk through during the day.
Yep. I didn't trust the bears, so...
Never trust the bears.
But that's the area right there.
The alternative is there's a current that goes to the left that you can swim through when you have the super flippers, but that requires coming in from below, which is not nearly as optimal.
So finally, our first instance of Snowball Wario.
Yeah, Snowball Wario is pretty rare. I think it's in 2 levels total, maybe?
It's only in this level, actually.
Okay. You see it more in Wario Land 4. Same idea, you just go on a slope and you break snowman blocks.
The lighter ones can be broken with any form of snowman, but the darker ones require you to be the biggest size. So that's why we have to go all the way.
Yeah, the biggest size you reach by just being on a slope long enough.
I also think it's kind of funny that this area right here has 3 coins, despite how short it is.
Yeah, it's even shorter when we do the water clip to skip the entire puzzle for the actual chest.
There we go. Managed to outpace the ice projectile.
Yeah, that ice appears there pretty often, so it's fun to try to race it.
And that's another animation skip, which saves 2 seconds. And there's number 8. Nice, got the early cycle. That was about as good as that one could go. Only really the start was flawed. But it's one of those collectibles, and I just messed
Wait a
up.
minute. I think you missed the one above the rock.
Yep, that's the one I missed. That's alright.
Well, we could just do it during blue, it's okay.
Yep.
Blue coins is slower by 10 seconds, I think. It's not a huge amount, but it is slower. Obviously, it's going to be slower no matter what, since we have to do it twice, but compared to doing it for red coins and then doing the blue chest normally.
Yeah. It's not nearly as bad compared to other ones, but it is a big time loss. But yeah, rather than just go through, rather than just deal with it, I'm just gonna do E4 blue and then just go right back.
I guess I understand why you don't do E4 blue earlier, just because I assume it has to do with the day-night pair-ups.
Actually, it would be better for me to do so, because then I wouldn't have to deal with it when I go to the red.
Yeah. It's hard to move around levels when you're making routes just because sometimes they're in pairs and you have to, like, swap every other pair if you change the day-night cycle. It's not an impossible task, but it does mean that you have to, like, be meticulous with not missing anything.
Yeah, so the reason why we do the coins on the red chest in E2 is because it is overall faster, but the blue by itself is faster than doing it on the red.
Yeah, because there's a coin that's just right in the way, and there's also the one that's below the, like, door that leads to the blue room. It's just that it is faster to not have to deal with the entire red chest puzzle twice.
So this time around, I will make sure not to forget that coin. And actually,
I did notice that you didn't get it, but I wasn't thinking about it when you were leaving the blue room. Like, I noticed when you were entering, because you're doing a different route than I do. Routing in this level is, like, I don't know if it really matters that much for, like, how much time it saves with which room you do first.
now, if I wanted to, I could show off and just do a water scroll here and get that coin instead without needing boots, but it's slower. That's the coin I missed. And then I'll make sure not to forget this one.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh. Wow.
Shoutouts to ice physics.
Yep. Shoutouts to ice physics and being an objective failure. There. Now there's no way to mess it.
Thank you. Is Heather in for the $13.13 donation? Said Lucky 13, come on and donate.
Alright, so now that we are done with east, we are going to head back to north. Ah,
Ooh, that's interesting.
that's unfortunate. That's just unfortunate. So what I was aiming there was to get a enemy bounce so that I would land up in that upper section. Because I want to go down this pipe. Because there's a coin right there.
You can also get that coin from the bottom, but there's not really any reason to.
Yep. Especially if you could just navigate right to the top and go right down the pipe. And this area I'd like to call the sewers.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, although maybe not as grimy.
Yeah.
There's 2 coins and a key in here. We're gonna skip the key for when we're doing the green chest because we don't need it.
Yeah, collecting the key does cost a couple seconds, so we want to avoid it if we can help it.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenarios like in N5 coin collection where if you're going downwards, then the gray key is there and there's no real reason to try to avoid it. In fact, it's basically impossible if you're going down.
Now, normally, you can't go through here. You can't get through here without going through the sewers. But the other door that you saw in the upper right corner, that door's only open at night.
Yeah, you can get to this section during the day by taking that bottom route. Normally, it's supposed to be a night-only thing until you get the power-ups to do so.
But there is literally no reason to ever do the coins on the blue chest in this stage, because if you do, then you have to go through the sewers twice.
Were you making sure you had the key that you needed for the chest?
I was actually checking coins.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the pause menu shows you a few things. In a 100% run, if you're like trying to be safe, then you do want to check your coins at certain points in the level.
Now we're gonna do a bounce right here. Oops. Or are we?
Oh.
So clearly those donatiers run at half of Wario's speed. When
That's funny, they run at the exact same speed when you're fat,
Yep.
so not really running.
But this time around, we do want to go through the sewers. Because we saw the blue key before, and the blue chest is also in here. There. And then the item that this gets lets us switch between the day and night at will. So we could just automatically swap if we wanted to. Unfortunately, we're not going to use it. We have no
It
reason
could
to.
have implications in routing because it means that you can swap day and night without having to like move around and do certain levels, but it makes things more complicated. It is a very nice thing to have, though, for like randomizer or for practicing or just in general.
So we mentioned spider skip previously, and that happens in N1. So in previous routes, I actually would have this chest as the very last one, just because it's right next to the temple.
Yeah, doing this last is technically optimal route-wise, but it means that you hit a very heavy reset point, and if you miss spider skip enough times, then you're going to be losing quite a bit of time. Or like if you fail the boss entirely, then that's just an awful time loss.
And I'm using the Quake of the Super Ground Pound just to make sure that the spiders don't hit me.
These blocks here are just a shortcut meant for the time attack mode where you get all the keys and leave, but you can also use it for just getting to this coin faster.
First try wall jump there. You can actually do a high jump there to get off the ladder faster, but I messed it up. Fortunately, I avoided the fire.
Hit you.
Now, actually, I'm just going to reset the room. Because that reloads all the enemies. And we avoided.
You can also do a wall flip there, but it doesn't really save time unless you get it first try. And even if you do, it saves like maybe a second or two.
Now, I would call the coin, the last coin here, one of the worst coins in the game. I'm going to do the key first. It doesn't really matter if you do the coin or the key first. It's really up to personal preference, but you have to do both anyways.
It might be better to do the key first, just so that when you take the second trip, the blocks are still there, so you don't have to like trip over all the one-tile gaps.
Yeah. But either way, you're not really saving time by doing so.
Yeah.
Whoop. Now we're going to Quake right here, so that it forces the Donateer to turn around. And I messed up. That's alright. But we could just stay standing still.
Yeah, this last coin is straight down here. And I assume the reason you dislike this coin is because it forces you to take a third trip up this room.
That, and the fact that it screwed me over so many times in randomizer.
I see.
Because in randomizer you can have that be a key, and when it's a key, it's like, too bad, you have to wait until you get powder.
Yeah, so randomizer, what Lotus was talking about with that coin being a key, the Wario Land 3 randomizer just has a mode where, with some limitations, it shuffles around the keys and the coins, so any coin location could be a key instead.
I'm going to get first try spider skip.
It's a little nerve-wracking when you do the high bounce there because you have to make sure the thing doesn't despawn, but you got it first try, so that's cool.
Yeah. I do it that way just because it gives it a lot easier of a reaction time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the trade-off
for
having
works is just because you have the you get clipped into the wall there, and when you bounce off that little spider web thing, it makes the spider shoot another one so that there's still one on screen. But it is actually something you can bounce on, even when it's when it's just been shot from the spider. So you want to time like getting out of the wall when you're clipped with when the spider has just shot its web. And then you can bounce off it and onto those little tiles that let you get to the chest.
Yeah, and the trade-off for having N1 blue earlier is that it gives you a much more stress-free endgame.
Yeah.
And right now I would classify us as in the endgame now, because we're done with N1 blue.
Yeah, now we're just doing some cleanup. There's not a whole lot of progression left. We've already done everything we need to beat the game.
Oops. I was trying to quake that slime off just to get it out of the way. Now, if this was all chests, we could actually do N1 Blue way, way earlier. Like, I'm talking in my current all chests route, I have N1 Blue where my chest count is in the 60s only, whereas this one has it at 82.
You could do this earlier in 100% as well, but it's more of a... like, it matters more for the route because you're not visiting the north map for a decent portion of, like, the mid-game. So, making an extra trip to the north map does lose a few seconds.
Another constraint about it in 100% is the fact that you have to do the coins on E3 green. You don't want to be doing that on the blue.
That's also true. You need to have E3 green in order to do N1 blue, but you don't want to do it and force yourself into a bad spot with that route either.
Yeah. And because you have to do the coins on E3, that pretty much also means by extension you can't do E3 green until you have access to daytime. And that, of course, puts more constraints on it.
Yeah, overall there's just a lot of routing things to consider. Even just for that one level, it becomes an entire chain of other levels that you have to consider.
That's the 8th and final coin. There. So that was me just trying to make sure that I stay with the fire cycles, since as mentioned that's on a global timer. And then just verify that you have 8. But this gets me just another one of those collectibles.
That looks like a spaceship from like a Star Fox game or something.
Yeah, a couple of those a couple of the treasures are references to things, and I don't know what all of them are.
Pretty sure I just said that game's name wrong. I don't know any of the older games.
I mean, it could be a Star Fox spaceship, who knows?
Oops.
Either Star Fox or there's another game that popped in my head. I'm pulling like Super
Pikmin?
Smash Bros. Characters. No.
Oh,
That
yep,
one's
there's the
Falcon
coin here.
Dude.
Yep. Never want to forget the coins.
I think there was one time where I forgot that coin that you just got that's like to the right. That was pretty embarrassing.
I think I've actually forgotten the boss room coin once. This whole starting area, you actually have to go all the way around, but it has a total of 5 of the coins. Oops. And then these areas have the final 3 of them. Now you saw in that dark room that there was actually a coin. Fortunately, we have a timing cue for it. And it's actually using the door.
Yeah. You can get this coin early also, but there's no real reason to because there's also 2 coins in this blue chest room, which require you to be able to enter that door. We're setting up for an enemy bounce here. By doing a charge throw, like in a kind of precise location, you can keep that enemy loaded while it's on top of that platform, and then just skip having to use these minecarts multiple times, or trolleys. Unlike the trolleys in W2, these ones are actually always active, regardless of if you have the wagon wheel chest.
But you have to actually be in the room. You can't be out of bounds.
Yeah, by always active I just mean, like, you don't need the chest
Yep.
in order to be able to use these.
I will be one to admit that I've missed that final coin before, and it's very embarrassing if you do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get. Like, I don't forget it, but I have, like, missed the platform for it, and, you know, you waste, like, 30 seconds having to go back around and get it or something.
Yep. This is another one of those long cutscenes.
And funnily enough, this isn't even really a cutscene that we care about. We already got the treasure for this. This is for S6 Blue, which is the first one that we got because of the wrong warp, allowing us to enter the blue area early.
Mm. Now this is the one I would classify as the worst coin split.
This one is definitely pretty demanding, and it is long, but I don't think I mind it as much as W2. I will say, it is, like, you know, precise stuff and a lot of things to do. It does kind of suck with the last room having golf and also being long.
Now normally we could actually use the same wall jump that we used for the green key,
Uh-oh.
but
So there is a wall jump at the beginning of the room, but Lotus didn't go for it. It is faster, but I guess it's one more wall jump that you don't want to do.
actually in my practice I've had better luck getting out of there faster by not going for it and just doing it the way I did it. So maybe that's something else we might need to compare.
In TAS, it is faster to do that instead of doing the ladder. I just do the ladder because I try to go for the green key skip, and if I go back around and do it twice, then I risk doing the green key twice.
Yeah. So, whoops. So what I'm trying to do here is a wall jump. I don't actually need to do that. I could just get this guy.
Yeah, thankfully the guy is still loaded, although even if he isn't, you could just go back down and take a few seconds.
Yeah. I wanted to just go for the wall jump if I could. It would save a bit of time if I got it.
Yeah, even without the wall jump, there's still an unintended way to do it, so it's fun.
Another thing that I would like to have compared in TAS is if it's faster to do the coins on the blue or if it's faster to do it on the red, because in TAS you can skip the golf in this stage.
Yeah, you have mentioned that before. Because of the whole, like, Turbo A scrolling, you can just get past the golf block, which is normally what prevents you from being able to do the entire level, or entire room. You can also use the same Turbo A scrolling to skip a little bit of the puzzle that would normally be required.
There. That brings us to 6. And then the final 2 coins are in here.
We break those blocks early just so that we have a path through as Fat Wario, because you can't, like, dash through blocks as Fat Wario.
Oh dear. There we go.
That still works.
Still saved it.
Yep.
But this is where the golf is.
That's the only golf door that's hidden. It's kind of interesting. Also nice par 3.
That was one of those cases of careful with the footprint, because there are 2 par 3s that have a bunker early on.
Yeah, they don't look exactly the same, but it's very easy to confuse them.
Yep. So we're just going to bounce the barrel off. And then that charge throw opens up the blue key. Oh. Derp.
Yeah, that happens. Even if you try to be safe, it's still possible to just, like, have slightly wrong positioning and then it bounces off you.
See, I did it again. I don't usually mess that up. And it is faster to actually not hit the wall the way I have. There we go.
Yeah, it resets your acceleration and also means that you have to wait to pick up the barrel, but I do agree with being safe about it. I've lost a lot of time on the split before.
Yeah, I would say that this is not only the worst one, but it's also the longest one too. At least assuming you don't get a good spider skip.
Yeah, that sounds right. S5 is also long. I've mentioned W2 being long, but that might not be nearly as bad as these ones.
Yep. But we are going to clean up W6. And the perk of actually holding off on doing W6 until now is that we actually opened up a shortcut. So we'll be able to make use of that shortcut here. And this shortcut saves 30 seconds. So it's very optimal to go for.
Yeah, normally you would have to go into that side room where the red key was and get hit by a worm. Turn into a ball of string Wario.
Yeah, even despite the fact that this collects a coin, it saves way more time than collecting the coin loses.
Yeah, it's so nice to do.
So now we finally, quote-unquote, officially unlocked S3 Red. But yeah, we already did it. Who cares? And then W6 Red is quite an auto-scroller one once we get the key. So after I get the key, there will be a bit more time for donations.
I didn't mention it last time, but Lotus breaks those blocks in a particular fashion just so that you can jump out of this room without having to be ball of string Wario. And this little wall clip here ideally saves some time so that you don't have to climb the ladder, which is slower.
And I'm just not going to go for the wall jump this time.
But yeah, now that these blocks are broken, as long as it's either a 2 or a 3 tile jump, you can just easily go back up.
Yep. So if there's a donation, you've got time, because these trolleys are really slow. So I intentionally delayed moving the bottom trolley just so I could avoid the coin. And there we go. So now we are almost done with West, but we're not done there yet. But next we're going to do S5. And we're going to start with the coins first. And that means we're going to do the blue chest.
Yeah, this is the other one that I mentioned as being kind of a long split. There's just a couple coins that are out of the way and have a slow puzzle.
Oops. There we go.
Nice. The purpose of that strat is not exactly a time save, but it just makes it so you don't have to worry about that thing I mentioned where sometimes you don't get a full height from an end bounce, like on the ground. Those yellow Paragoom enemies are particularly bad culprits of just sometimes not allowing you to get up to a ledge that's 5 tiles high. Or 4 tiles, rather.
Yeah, it might be a little slower to do it, but it really trivializes the room if you can do it.
Yeah, because otherwise you could be bouncing on that enemy like 3 or 4 or even more times, and just getting increasingly frustrated at why the game isn't letting you through.
In this case, we do want to use a high wall jump. There we go.
Let's see this frame perfect jump.
Nope, didn't get it. There
you
is
can
a
just
frame
like
perfect
jump
jump.
through that crawl space at the end of your slide, and it's frame perfect, but it looks cool and saves an amount of time, like maybe a couple seconds of platforming.
Now this area right here we'll be coming back to because this is where the green chest is. But right now we only want the coins. And that is the only coin in that area. And then the final 3 coins are in these areas. Oops. That actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I was worried you might have bonked, but I guess it was fine because the enemy was stunned.
Yep. So I do this in a peculiar way just to ensure that I don't mess it up. And it involves using that left side enemy and then bonking off 2 enemies. Oops.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies here and they kind of get out of control. It can get like that in this main room as well at the beginning because of those 3 enemies that you have to move around.
This is another case of using a high wall jump. There we go.
This room is a little slow just because you have to wait for these guys. If you're doing all chests, you don't actually have to bother with this room at all, even though technically it will be intended to get the chest with.
Yep,
Because
because you're
there's
supposed to
at
get
least
flat.
3 different ways to get to the chest without being flat. But
And that's one of them.
yeah, for 100% we do need that coin.
And unfortunately, you can't wall jump that one. Because it's just too
Yeah.
high. But there's the scissors that we mentioned previously. Now, I'm actually
Yeah, that
not
allows
sure.
us to finish up S6.
I'm actually not sure, but I think it's possible that the moon gong that we got from N6 Blue, I think we could phase skip S6 as well. But we haven't actually tested it.
I don't see why not.
Don't know, but it's definitely something worth investigating. Oh. Yeah, don't forget the key.
I'm sure I've forgotten this key. Actually, I know I've forgotten this key before, because I have a vivid memory of touching the chest and being like, why hasn't anything happened?
Yep. So once again, we're going to use that same bounce before. The reason why I don't do it on the earliest frame is because it can actually cause you to load this donateur up above.
Yeah, this is a neat little strat that saves a slight amount of time from just not touching that coin. Normally you would, like, quake it so that the donateur goes up those platforms, but then that requires you to touch the coin as you fall down.
And now we go back for the green. And this is more optimal to do at night just because we don't have to deal with that spearhead.
Yeah, it's the only reason. Just because, like on the red split, we're not going down there at all.
And that coin is unavoidable. But what is avoidable is my blunder.
That's okay, this works too.
I blame you, Soap. You said it would work.
Well, that's what the old strat was, I just don't remember how the old strat works. The new strat is to just touch this fire when you're falling down.
Yep, and then you jump up.
Yeah, this little time save was found by Destroyer. Normally, you would get invisible first to get the key, then get set on fire, and then get invisible again, but this is just more efficient because you only need to get invisible once overall.
Assuming you don't mess up platforming.
Yeah, or get set on fire while you're invisible, which it's very easy to lose a lot of time in this particular chest.
Alright, we're good. Once you clear that first jump, then it's trivial.
Yeah.
How those fishes survive fire, please don't not ask.
You could say the same for the burr bears. That's kind of a funny room with the firefish and the burr bear and the pit of fire. I've heard
Yeah.
a couple people complain about it as like a flaw of the game design, and I kind of see where they're coming from. I just think it's kind of funny.
So now we finally have the 2 items that would normally unlock N1 green. And our chest count is at 90 now, so...
Yeah, normally this is what unlocks the second to last power-up, which you would get in like chest 45 or something.
I think it's actually closer to like 35. Oops.
I'm talking about like the intended route, no major skips.
Oh yeah, that would be closer to 40, I believe. Maybe 45. I think No Major Skips has 50 chests in it.
Yeah, that's correct. And then Blitz has 45 total, because you skip 5 from doing that sequence break.
No, that one's just 4. You have 46.
Is
You
that
skip E1 green, W5 gray, and then S5 green and E1 blue.
Have you tried doing
Okay, yeah,
the
that checks
glitch
out.
speedrun?
I have done glitchless, actually.
You have?
Yep.
I didn't actually know that. Wait,
Officially
is your PB better
speaking,
than
there
me?
isn't a run for me on the leaderboard, but I could tell you my time is in the 117 range.
Oh, okay. I should probably get on that, because my time is still a 1:19:55. May or may not actually have to do with how good I am at the game. I just haven't put as much time into some of the other categories as opposed to 100%.
Yeah, the annoying part about the green chest is that we have to navigate these rooms twice. But that's alright. S4 blue is the one that has the coins because it has the golf as well, and you have to do the golf to get one of the coins. Either way, you have coins far out of the way. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, there's actually a coin right there, but we're not going to collect it yet. We're going to collect it later when we escape this area.
Yeah, this slight reroute was found by Lotus. Normally you would like do a dash jump from that door and get the coin, and then do this room. And then there's some platforming that you would do to like go to the right and then up to get a coin that's in the top left of the room. But Lotus found that you can just allow yourself to get inflated and float out of the room, and that gets you up to the top of the level a lot faster.
Oops. I was trying to do a fast quake using the ladder. Like that.
I usually just use the like B and right thing to make that guaranteed. Because you can like shimmy off the ladder and then hold down, and it always works.
So this spike maze also has 2 coins. And right now that puts our coin count up to 4. There we go, we got it.
Yeah,
So that's how you get 5.
Yeah, conveniently you just can touch that coin while you're floating.
But you can't just float all the way to the left immediately, because otherwise you will get hit by the fire bot, and you don't want to.
Nope.
And then jump all the way across and up for coin 6.
Yeah, I don't know of a way to get that without rolling, so
There isn't a way.
yeah.
Oh,
I feel like
well,
it's
I'm failing.
possible that there could be like a weird enemy bounce you could do, but at that point you wouldn't really be saving time if you're doing like a really difficult strat that you cannot reasonably get as a human.
So I just said I'm failing because I did not break these blocks first. Because this is one of those that also has the fire block, but unlike the one in S3, we can't skip this one.
And this fire is really annoying. It's kind of tight.
Yep.
Like every single jump is like right before you touch a wall, basically.
Yeah, the first one is easy, but you have to do it first, because it's the upper one. There we go.
There is an alternate strat where you do it last, and then you can like allow yourself to just hold right and get into the next room as Fire Wario, but I think it has like 2 either frame perfect or 2-frame window jumps. Not really worth doing for a full run, it's for time attack mostly, which is, again, an individual level, basically.
Yep. So this is the other one that had that other bunker. And this is actually in the hard course, so this is one of the ones that needs 2 shots. We're getting a good amount of part 3s at least. That's
Yeah,
good.
this is decent golf luck.
But there's the blue key, and then the chest is right below.
And that coin is right to the left, and you have to do this entire puzzle for the blue key as well as the coin, so as Lotus mentioned, there's no reason to do this during a different chest.
Yep. So that's all 8 there. And now once again we're going to do a soft reset because we need to do that for the green chest. Because we can't do the wrong warp at night now. We have to do it during the day.
Something fun about this level is that there's that golf door right at the start, but it's very easy to miss because you kind of just block it out if it's at the start of the level, and it's like, oh, that's the door that I came out of, even though that's not how it works. And for the other 3 times you do this chest, that golf is there and you don't do it. So when you reach the top of the level and realize, oh, I didn't do the golf, now you have to fall all the way back down and do the golf.
And then go all the way back up.
Yeah. It's especially bad in 100% because you've done the entire, like, all the other rooms as well.
There we go. You
No
technically
key skip.
can. Yep, you can avoid it, but I just don't.
It's not that much of a time save because you have to like platform around it. You have to do a dash from the right so that you have enough horizontal movement speed.
There. So I was just consistently using quakes there just to dislodge the slimes.
Yeah, that room is really painful if you don't have Super Ground Pound available.
Which, why would you not have the super ground pound available if you're not in a randomizer?
Yeah, for randomizer purposes, having to do that room without having the red overalls is considered like hard difficulty.
Just normal, actually.
Or just normal, but not easy. There is an easy difficulty, and there's a few of those annoying things that you do not have to do in easy.
That was just sloppy. I ended up messing up that movement, so that's why I ended up failing it. But I do want to get that one first.
Yeah, I suppose if you have to go back up to the top anyway. Ooh.
I timed that too early. That's another one of those coins that's very easy to miss. But at this point we should have 5, which is good.
Yep, and then, just because this level is so special, there's 3 more coins in the green area. And you'll see exactly what this green area is about right here.
You've got time for donations. This part is extremely slow.
There's none that I see.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
But if you guys do want to donate, just scroll down on the main page and you can find the donation link.
Yeah, the reason we need zombie though is because we have to go through the floors and we have to kill this frog.
Poor frog.
I sympathize with the frog.
Then we go there to get out of zombie as fast as possible. We'll come back for that coin because we need to get the key. You could do it either order.
Yeah, I do the coin first. I hadn't considered this possibility. It might be easier, I suppose. You make it look easy.
Either approach is correct. Honestly, you're not losing any time.
I've also found that it's equivalent to do that coin first and then get the key, and then, like, approach that second coin from the right. I think it's basically the exact same, and the variance in time would be just from dealing with the birds faster or slower.
You also saw that we were able to just go right through that zombie, and that's just because that area was just small enough so that you don't get knocked back far.
Yeah, the ceiling prevents you from actually losing much movement progress, so you can just hold left, and eventually you'll get onto the opposite side of the hitbox and get knocked to the left, where you want to be going.
Oh look, we got a jackhammer that we don't need.
Yeah, this is for E6, which we phase skipped by getting the last treasure for it first.
The pickaxe was our jackhammer.
Yeah. You could use a pickaxe as a jackhammer if you try hard enough.
Yep. But yeah, now we're gonna do the gray chest finally.
This is one of those chests that you can kind of put anywhere in the route depending on when other things are happening. You can just use it to like space out the day-night cycle because it's just a crayon, so it's not for progression.
And I got the nice bounce. Yeah, that one's always a nice one to get. And it's really fast too.
Yeah, it just saves you from having to go through that entire lower section and loop back around to the door.
Yeah, if you miss the bounce, then it takes like 15 seconds to get back up to the top, so better to get the bounce.
The 15 seconds on its own doesn't sound too bad, but the room is just kind of annoying, regardless.
Yep. Now W3 blue is the fastest coin split out of all of them.
Yeah, it's under 2 minutes. It's maybe like a minute and a half, depending on the cutscene.
Yeah, really only the cutscene is the reason why it's over 2 minutes. And even
Yeah.
then, it's just barely over 2 minutes.
This level is slightly harder during the day just because of that upper room with the vines and the blue enemies, but not a huge deal. It actually matters more for the last room, where you have some enemies that are in your way while you're trying to lure a Numo over to the left.
We're going to use this damage boost to get this easier. And then we have to outswim this current to get number 7. And then the final coin and the blue key are both in this room. Both by going to the right. I'm actually going to try something. I know it's possible to do a high wall jump for this, but I don't remember the position, so let's see if I can get it right.
I also don't remember it. I haven't gone for this since I started running the category. I deemed it not worth it.
I had a
But that was
feeling that I
because
would remember it.
Yeah. I decided that it wasn't worth it, but that's because I was using pause buffers. It might be not as bad if you're not buffering it.
Yeah. There we go.
If you're not far enough to the left, when you get inflated, then you'll hit this little floor that the chest is on.
Ceiling / floor. However you want to call it. Yeah, that's a very fast one. We still don't have all the crayons yet, though.
Yeah, I think there's like 1 or 2 more.
I think there's 2
I
left.
believe the last one would be N3 red, is that right?
Yep. That is correct. It's funny, we have N3 green at like chest 15 or so, 14 or 15, and then we don't visit N3 again until literally the last 2 chests. That's just a nice little shortcut that you can do if you have the golden glove. And then from there we just keep our hands off, since we let the currents do the work, and then just swim up.
One of the little design quirks about this level is just that all the chests are connected to this like inner hub cave thing. And the keys for those chests are on the corners of the starting room.
Yep. So upper right is where the red chest is. And then upper middle is where the green is, and then upper left is the blue. So you actually have access to all of them right away. But that doesn't mean you have access to the key, which you have to get first. Another fun thing is that we saw the first chemical when we got S4 blue. Well, the second chemical is here.
Yep, and the chemicals unlock something in N3 and W5, which happens to be the level that we're in, so... this is an uncommon case of something unlocking progression within the same level.
I think it's actually the only case.
I guess it depends on how you count E7 and E5, because they don't unlock something in the exact same level, but they unlock something in the pair of levels.
Yeah. No, E7 unlocks things in E5, but that doesn't mean that it unlocks anything directly in E7 itself. This is the only case where it's direct.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they put ladders here. I guess, is it possible to get the octopus food before you have high jump?
Before you have high jump, I think it is, but only if you sequence break.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure why those ladders are there, because you can just jump up these platforms. I guess it's so you can get back down, but you could also get back down using that little set of 3 blocks next to the chest.
Yep. We didn't actually mention the stage name for W5, but it is Beneath the Waves.
That's a good name.
So now we get to do the coins. The first coin is right here. It's faster to do it a bounce. Unfortunately, I messed it up, but that's okay.
You can do these coins on the corners in a couple different orders, basically like clockwise or counterclockwise. I think I personally prefer this order that Lotus is doing, where you do the gray one first, just because of how the currents and the bubbles line up, but I don't know if it really matters that much unless you're worried about getting hit by a bubble.
I'm actually going to get the coin first. With the blue key. Glad I got rid of the slime, by the way. Just right up in the upper left. And then we use the bird bear because it moves faster. Now I'll make sure not to forget the other coin in this room, soap. So if I do somehow forget it anyways, yeah. If I do somehow forget it, then yeah, you can give me all the crap you want.
You could say you're washed because you're in the water level.
Yep. It would have been faster for me to do that coin first, but it doesn't really matter.
In that red key room, there's 2 heavy enemy bounces you can do, one for each coin. The first one is not actually faster, but the second one, you could do it, but you risk killing the enemy on accident if you miss it. And if you do miss the bounce, then you have to reload the room and reload the enemy.
And you never want to do that if you can help it. And that's actually why I don't do it.
What Lotus would call unforced error.
Yep. Now I'm going to verify coin count right here, just to verify I have 6. 7 is right there. And then the final coin is in the blue chest room.
I remember doing a bunch of work on, well, maybe not a bunch, but, you know, spending probably a couple hours trying to figure out what chest is the fastest to do coins on, but I failed to consider that there's a coin in the blue chest room, which makes it so that it doesn't matter at all because there's no reason to go up to the blue chest room unless you're getting a blue chest.
Ooh, actually, I could do something funny.
Nice. That's some randomizer tech.
It's actually faster to do it in all chests too.
Yeah, I suppose so, because you don't need to go to the right for the coin.
Yep. And you wouldn't have to climb the ladder entirely at all.
There's 4 of those treasures, one for each card suit. I don't really know what they are, just kind of like shields or crests or something.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna do N3 red. Now, we saw an enemy at the far left there. We're gonna ignore him for now because we don't care about it. That is where we need to go, but we want to ensure that that coin is last. And I'm failing the mobility here.
To be fair, your character is invisible right now.
Yep.
Getting on that ladder is pretty fun because you just know as soon as the coin disappears you're on top of the ladder, so when that happens you can just react to it and press down.
We want to avoid that zombie, but we don't want to avoid this one. We have to jump the gap though. Zombie Wario can't cross those single tile gaps. It has to jump. And it's just for that coin.
Back when we did blue coins for this level, you had to do a wall flip there in order to not have to get invisible twice.
Yeah.
Also glossing over a fun little... I don't really know how that works exactly, but basically you just shimmy off the ladder and it makes it so that you damage boost underneath the ceiling.
I think it's similar to how you do it with the vine wires in N5, where if you're not moving, you don't get any knockback.
Perhaps.
That's the best explanation I can come up with, at least.
To me it looks kind of like he's getting knocked back to the left, which is funny because it doesn't matter which way you're facing when you're on the ladder. It's always to the left. It could be explained in another way though. But what matters to us is that it works, and it's only really, you don't see it anywhere else, because there's no point where there's spikes next to a ladder that you're trying to get past.
And it's literally a blink and you miss it,
Yeah.
because that's how fast it gets set up.
Yeah, the only thing that really matters is just getting off the ladder when you're low enough.
I'm gonna get the key first. It doesn't really matter the order in which you do this, but I just prefer getting the key first.
There's an argument to be made for getting it second just because you can be higher when you touch the Numo, but you still have to go back to the left and double back on your path, so I don't know if it matters a whole lot.
And here's the final golf. So let's see what we get. Nope. Another par 3. I'm amazed we didn't get the holes that I would normally throw away. Because both of the holes that I throw away when it comes to golf, they're both unlocked when you have 50 chests. But the final coin is here. And it's actually this coin. That coin right there is the reason why it is faster to do the coins on the red as opposed to the blue. Oh.
Yeah, with the
With the
old routing where we did coins on blue split, you had to double dip the golf and do a whole extra golf just for that one coin. It was kind of inefficient. I think it might be Destroyer who figured out the possibility.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's like 11 seconds faster to do it on the red because of that coin. But here's the final crayon, so... fitting.
Yep, and now this hill turns green. If you actually go into the spot between the north and west map, then you can see that there's multiple colors, like each of those crayons corresponds to a color in the background, but because we always use the select menu to go between maps, you never actually see that room. Even if we didn't use the select menu, you can just press a button to skip that room entirely, so regardless, you don't see that golf hill in a speedrun.
Yep, which is sad.
I don't know, I'm not a huge golf fan myself.
It's sad
It is
because
cool
you
how
get
it gets
to,
colored in, though.
yeah, it's because you actually get to see the visual change. Now this time we can actually collect the key first, because the zombie will stay loaded.
Too bad for no invisible wall clip.
That was close. We actually have to tap the flame there to be cured of zombie, so. But this is the final chest right here. But this isn't time yet, because there is still one more thing we have to do.
Yep, that one more thing is beat the final boss. Before we actually get to the fight, there's a cutscene with the text that I mentioned way 3 hours earlier. So you bring him the 5 music boxes, he's like, "Wonderful work, Wario, now release my power," or something like that. Or restore my power, yeah. And then the music boxes play, the melodies of all 5 of them combine, but then something goes awry, and suddenly we realize maybe these music boxes were not for the greater good. So, Wario's gonna start running to the right and left here. Similar to the opening cutscene, you can make him move faster by holding whichever direction he's running, but you have to wait for Wario to reach the center after a sound effect plays, so unless you do it exactly right, you're not going to save time, and you might actually lose time instead.
Is this the final boss right here?
This is Rudy.
Yeah, so Rudy, or the Hidden Figure, as he was called earlier in the game, is apparently an evil clown who wants to squish us like a bug. We want to use this fist attack 4 times in a row. Normally he pounds the ground with his fist to make you automatically drop it, but if we time it correctly... Yeah, that's time. If we time our jump correctly, then we won't actually get quaked, and we can just reuse that hand. Anyway, that's Wario Land 3 100%. We got all the chests, and we got all the music coins, and as I mentioned previously, the music coins just unlock a 4th harder golf set in the golf tower. But getting all 100 chests unlocks time attack mode, and that's where you are against an in-game timer and you have to get all 4 keys and find an exit as fast as you can. That's not actually part of the speedrun though, so that's a separate game mode.
And you'll find out that the beings were... You find out that the beings were actually the people of the Music Box world. So the old man is saying, "Thank you so much. Long ago it was a peaceful world, but then that meddlesome being appeared," who he's referring to Rudy, and tried to take control. The people managed to steal away his power in the 5 music boxes, but Rudy used the last of his power to change them into the beings that we were seeing. So they were actually trying to stop us because they were fearful of Rudy's return, but they never thought that Wario would actually defeat him. And so the old man follows through on Rudy's promise and gives Wario all the treasure that he accumulated.
That bag does not change at all depending on how many chests you collected.
Nope. You could literally have 0 chests and it would still be the same. The credits music is a banger, so.
Oh yeah.
So do you have any shoutouts?
I mean, shoutouts to you, and shoutouts to me, but besides that, I would like to give shoutouts to the other completionist runners of this game. There's Destroyer, who ran all chests and also found a few things for 100%. I mentioned a couple of his findings. There's Vlak SR, who has moved on from Wario overall, but did run 100% and was also a pioneer of this game's speedrunning in general, particularly for any percent. just shoutouts to the Wario community in general. We have a Discord server for the Wario speedrun community, and Wario Land 3 has its own channel for strat finding, discussing, trying to learn the game. We have resources that you can find there. So
Shout
if
out
you want
to
to pick up
Aaron
this game,
Dobb, who developed the randomizer.
that's also true. Aaron Dobb is also... He figured out how, like, room loading works and about... I think he kind of was a progenitor of, like, phase skipping being a thing, so that's cool. But yeah, overall,
We have
like,
enough
if
time
you
to view
want
the special golf holes and the hard ones. The hard ones are pretty early on, but the special ones are completely unique that you'll never see outside of there. Okay, that's unfortunate.
Well, we can just show the perfect screen, which is what you get when you get all 100 chests. This is just how the game acknowledges that you got all the chests, and this also is a banger, but if we need to move on, then I'm willing to sign off.
Yep. And actually, there's no way out of this screen, so you have to reset the game at this point.
But yeah, thanks for watching, and keep the donations flowing for
Yes,
cancer.
thank you.
Let's beat cancer!
Thank you for watching, and thanks for having me, guys.